Here we are. Lindsay is with me. Do you want to say hi, Lindsay?
Hello, everyone.
Okay. And we're not going to play the Trailer Park Boys music all the way through. In fact, we're going to stop right now because apparently it really rubs some people up the wrong way. I think it's people whose brains have been molded by techno. But anyway, I love it. I do. I genuinely do. It's so cheesy and gay and la-di-da and so nothing that, yeah, why not? Okay, we're going to cover some pretty serious things tonight. You've heard some of the stuff that's been going on this week. You've heard some of the stuff that I've said this week. Yes, Patricia is a man. Wait, to the degree that I can determine, okay? I've had a long conversation today with some global friends. How do you know for sure? How does anyone know for sure? You would have to take a blood sample and look for that Y chromosome. I didn't take a blood sample, and there are some women, I'm sure, that have that Y chromosome and all of that. I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to go into it further, okay? Let's suppose that Patricia used to be a man and is now a Patricia, okay? That's their choice. It has nothing to do with me and it has nothing to do with anybody else. The reason I pointed that out is that honesty is much better. And if you consider it being a protected class, transgender is a protected class. You would think a transgender person in the flat earth would have gone out of their way to point out that they were transgender, and by pointing this out, receive some type of security for it. Instead, it's deceit. If you don't point out qualities of yourself, it's deceit. So I will point out right now, I am an unemployed artist. Sorry, Nathan Oakley. You can work your 14 hours and receive your benefits under the title of Working Families Tax Credit if you like. I don't need that extra money. If I did, I would work some 14 hours somewhere. Now, Nathan Oakley is a despicable person. Patricia Steer is a despicable person, okay? These two people are despicable. Validation Boy is a despicable person. Yvette Zarate is a despicable person. These despicable people, not they might be doing it under different reasons or their reasons might be valid to them. The actions are what are despicable, okay? A despicable person is a person that engages with despicable actions. That's how language works. So let's imagine that Patricia Steer knew fully well that Barbie McGill had some personal... Let's pretend that this is real. And at the end of the story, I'm going to tell you that it is. That Patricia Steer knew fully well that Barbie McGill was having personal problems, had gone back onto medication that makes her slur her words, not alcohol, medication, was in a hangout, took some medication, the medication kicked in, she started slurring her words. Patricia Steer knew that she was on medication, and later Patricia Steer said that she was tipsy, okay? And said that she'd given her support. She was smearing her, saying that she was tipsy. She was not tipsy. She was on medication. Very much like Patricia Steer when she went on, what was it called? I forget, a Christian channel where shortly after having had surgery and she was on heavy painkillers and she was dopey and slurring her words, okay? That's elective surgery. That's not due to personal problems like somebody hyperinflating your tires to 100 pounds per inch. All four of them, and cutting your brake cable. Those are the kind of personal problems I'm talking about. This happened to Barbie McGill. Patricia Steer knew this, and Patricia Steer pointed out that Barbie McGill, who no longer has a channel, who can't speak for herself now, not much because she doesn't have a channel, she just completely burned her for no good reason. Mark tried to engage with this and she completely blanked him. So I'm going to show this later on, okay, that this is what Patricia did. And Barbie McGill, I'll ask her if she'll join us next week and confirm what I've just told you. This is Patricia Steer. This is the person who sat by while somebody went around calling me a rapist who violently raped her and later claimed that what he meant was sex under false pretenses, like maybe pretending to be the opposite gender. So this is Patricia Steer. You all know, everybody knows that this guy has said that I raped her violently. I'm going to show it. I am actually going going to show him saying this in chats, in private chats, and also in public in comments. Okay, he's done this. This is Stephen Chess, Patricia's pet. Okay, this guy is not well in the brain, but Patricia has just said, oh no, what Stephen Chess meant was this other thing. No, physical, absolutely physical are the words. Okay, not.
Can I say? Can I just add something to that? When this was happening, I wasn't focused on it, but I became aware of it. I think it was through David, and I read a couple of the comments, critically the ones where you were reporting what he had said and showed it. And I was looking at it, I was thinking, my God, this is all blown up. You know, at this stage, there was this level of optimism or gathering, this building and growing this flat earth community kind of thing, you know, and all of a sudden this thing just blew up like an explosion within the whole thing. It just went boom, and people talking about, speculated about rape and all this sort of stuff. And then, you know, you saying it, there's a lot of people, including myself, that just took one step back from the whole situation and said, what's going on here? Something's not right. Something that is definitely not right. And everybody that's getting themselves involved, there's a smell somewhere along the way. And I wanted to know where that smell was coming from, because there were people declaring one thing and there was people not really saying much else. They weren't sort of defending it or attacking it or whatever, but all of a sudden there was a noise coming out that was saying, this is what's really going on. And there wasn't any counter to that. And to me, that's where the smell was coming from.
The silence. It was the silence.
The silence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know about it, but let's pretend like it didn't happen. Let's be globling and pretend like there's curvature. Let's follow that kind of installed mentality. Let's follow that. No, dude, everybody, if anyone gets accused of rape, that accusation doesn't go away. People will think along these lines, well, probably what happened is this, or maybe what happened was this. He violently raped her. She told Stephen Chess. Stephen Chess couldn't contain himself and blurted it out. And she didn't want it blurting out for whatever reason. So she tried to stem it and said, no, he meant this legal version, you know, sex under false pretenses. Okay, what false pretenses? I haven't lied or told her I'm anything different to what I am. She'd been here before coming to move. So what false pretense? Anyway, I suppose it means the marriage.
Can I ask you a question, Antonio? The question I ask you is, at what point in the relationship did you actually realize something wasn't physically right in terms of the anatomy? You know,
Yes. Okay.
When we were, go on.
So I've had this conversation today with my globering friends, and same question. I can't say exactly when, okay? It was maybe a third. So she was here for about 10 weeks, maybe halfway through, maybe a little bit early. I don't know, because it all got very blurred. Very long hangouts, lots of activity.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, and it's not because I want to align these two things together, but if we're talking about intimacy, then we're talking about trusting your partner to be open enough for you to engage in that intimacy, trusting the honesty that's being held within that individual.
Yes.
So if there's a piece of information that's not being openly discussed with you that involves the level of intimacy that may create whether it be a positive or a negative reaction when you discover something after an act has already been done, I'm going to tell you, to me, that's a form of rape in itself.
It is. That is false sex under false pretenses.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So what I'm saying is, it's the same thing as me having herpes, for example, and not telling my partner that you know, you may get infected if we have intercourse without protection, and that person,
and anyway, you know,
sorry.
So I notice, okay, anybody who's not heard this, I notice because of the shape of the hip to the femur, okay, there's a hollow between the hip and the femur, and later in hindsight, I noticed the strangeness of the walk. I did a short video some time ago. I posted a video at some point of the alien from the video Mars Attacks, from the film Mars Attack. Okay, this alien dressed like a beautiful woman that glides hints and has this very peculiar, unnerving walk. So, but this is where I want to go. Okay, what somebody does to the body and with themselves is their own business. They have to deal with it. Yep. But to hide it from other people or accuse other people of lying for discussing this, okay, that's not on. First, hiding it. And here in the UK, in May of 2001, the UK government made it legal to change the gender on birth certificates. Okay, wow. It's now legal for people who have had a sex change to have their sex on their birth certificate changed to align with a new gender. Okay, which means there will be organizations out there that will embellish your background to match. Okay, but anyway, put this to the side. That's just a thing. It's personal decision, personal choice, whatever. Okay, but to not disclose it, okay, you might say that that's also a personal choice, and yes, it is. But in a truth movement or any truth scenario where you don't point out the truth, that's not on. Okay, that's besmirching truth. Okay, and when people say, look, I think she's a woman and I know that she's a woman, it's like, no, you don't. And if they say to me, do you know for sure that she used to be a man? I will say, no, I do not know for sure. I did not take a blood test. Okay, it could be the case that the same as I think Patricia used to be a man with narrow hips like a man and had this cushioning put on. It could be the case that she was always a woman with narrow hips and had the padding put on for more curves. That could also be the case. But this is my point. If she had been a woman, then the woman's wrath would have brought hellfire down on me because I outed her, I exposed her as a psychopath. And a psychopath woman would have destroyed. She would have just destroyed. And she didn't. Why? Because she's not a woman and she does not think like a woman. Women are different. Women and men are different. Okay, this idea that they're all the same, no, it's not true. And new studies have just come out confirming it. Anyway, women can think much faster than men in lots of different aspects. Okay, and men can think far more focused in different aspects. There are differences. Okay, there really are differences between a male brain and a female brain. Okay, and neurologists know this and psychologists know this. So she does not have a female brain. If she had a female brain, she would have completely destroyed me, and she didn't. Okay, not because she's good and somehow still loves me and what. No, I outed her as a psychopath. She's a psychopath. So think, would a psychopath sit back and go, oh, it's okay, I'll just let it slide? No. So it's not that she is not a psychopath and just thought, let it slide. I guarantee to you guys, she is a psychopath without any question. And only people who know her in the real world will know. Okay, so ask the people who know her in the real world. Ask Omnieros. He didn't know her so well, but ask him. Okay, ask the people who have met her, who no longer associate with her. Ask them. Ask her Scottish ex-boyfriend. Ask her family. Ask people who know her. Don't just take my word for it.
I was going to say something as well. It's worth noting because I've experienced a psychopath, definitely, without a doubt. And what I find interesting about it is that if you are doing what you're doing, which you are doing it, this is a result of the infected energy that she's placed in this relationship that she's established with you. This is the aftermath. So as far as she's concerned, being a psychopath, this is just something that she's enjoying, the lavish energy that's just, it doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive.
Yes.
This is the feeding frenzy that's coming in. It's giving her power and strength, whether it be negative information or positive, she'll still carry on.
Yes, and people will rally around her. People will rally.
Absolutely.
It's how it goes. But as a victim of a psychopath, you have two choices. You cower and withdraw, or you destroy. Okay?
You had no choice. And I say this, and I'm not trying to say this in your defense, but you had no choice because this, to me, was a very public building of a relationship. You know, I was watching your YouTube channels going live and then crossing over to Patricia Steer's Hot Potatoes and the combination and the blending of all of that. That was entwining the flat earth, sinews together. And all of a sudden, that's what blew up.
Yes.
And it exploded.
Yes. And it's not like, this is what happens. Anybody out there who has not been the victim, okay? Because when you're with a psychopath or when you have a psychopath in your life, you are the victim. victim. Even if you're the flying monkey, you don't realize that you're their victim. You don't realize this, Nora, no one, okay? I'm going to show you what Nora sent me today. So, and then I'm going to ask you guys, I'm not going to embellish, I'm not going to editorialize, I'm going to ask you, why would she send this? Just think this. Why would she send this? Okay, I'm going to hold it up to the screen. Hopefully you can read it, okay? Can you read that, Lindsay?
Keep it still. This is the first warning. No Patricia Steer, and Patricia Steer is no bloke. You are now guilty in the law of defamation of character. I am encouraging her to take legal action. Anything published online about me in any way will be met with legal action. Have consulted with a lawyer on the liable and possible action. Okay.
Why the line? Anything published online about me?
Mm-hmm.
Why that line? What is she worried that I might publish? Anyway, forget that.
Yeah.
So, because I would just say this to people. Ask Tim, Psychedelic Christian. Let Tim tell you, because I only have secondhand stuff. So there are people around Patricia who don't know, who don't believe anything that I say about Patricia. I'm just fucked up in the head, or crazy, or spiteful, or whatever. Whatever they need to rationalize not hearing it. Despite rape. Oh no, he didn't mean rape. Despite that, they will still find a way. Despite Barbie McGill, somebody who's having a breakdown, seeing herself being spoken to about, on Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes as a drunk. She was tipsy. What mentality does this to somebody who's on medication, to somebody who has contacted you to say, Patricia, I'm having to go back on medication because, and has told you because. What person does this? What maliciousness is there? And think this too, crocodile tears are completely indistinguishable from real tears. And if you think that the covert narcissist does not use tears to pull at those heartstrings, so I did the truth bomb to try to let people know, okay? I wasn't in the frame of mind to consider her an actual infiltrator. I thought she was just a fucked up psychopath. All psychopaths are fucked up. There's this idea that psychopaths are necessary in society because they have this quality that will achieve the best. But no, that's in the society we have now, which breeds psychopaths and has this cutthroat mentality. You're going to charge as much as you can. That mentality, this mentality, you're going to take as much as you possibly. That psychopathic mentality. We live in the West. The Western culture is psychopathic. We have government saying it's okay to lie on birth certificates. We have government saying it's absolutely okay to poison children with vaccinations as long as we can give them £110,000 if they're vaccine damaged. Just the parents will just go away. Okay, after the age of 13. So you live with a child until the child is 13, and at that point you'll receive pay. So this is where it's okay to go and kill Gaddafi. You know, oh look, it's okay to orchestrate wars, to do 9/11. We live in a psychopathic culture, okay? And in a psychopathic culture, we have this idea that psychopaths are actually essential for culture. No, they are not essential for culture. They're essential for a psychopathic culture, okay?
It's the framing of competition in the sense that pretty much as you grow up and go to school and be indoctrinated, it all starts and stems from being indoctrinated from that point where you talk to your friends and so forth and you say it's a dog-eat-dog world. You know, you've got to go out there and compete. If you want to get a job, you've got to, dress properly. You've got to, present yourself. You've got to have the knowledge. You've got to be confident, blah, blah. These are the placid attributes that you must have. So you go in as a order taker, as a servant to the industry in order to retain a position, a job. But if you want to go up into management and further yourself, then you have to take on the responsibilities of the company. And under those responsibilities, there's an expectation that you will be a higher order taker and you'll do less human behavior to support the business. So you might make decisions and enforce those decisions and changes, but this changes you as an individual and it distances yourself from the rest of those people that are working. And this is also a separation deliberately designed so that the next level of people can control the middle management and get them to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but they're going to do it anyway because they've got themselves in this role. And in order to get into that role, they have to play the game, which was dog eat dog, compete compete. So you're right. At the working level, that's what it really, how you interact with the world.
Yeah, so
I've got to ask you a question just to let you know this, just while we're talking about work. I've been, you say that you're an artist.
unemployed artist.
The point I'm getting at here is that this is a career path that you took on as a profession. I mean, if you declare yourself to be a professional artist, whether you're employed or not, this is a career path that you've chosen in your life. So to literally call you a government sponge or a supporter or whatever is not just an insult, but it's a complete lack of ignorance, of understanding a person's position in life. There's a difference between someone like yourself or somebody who, in Australia, you talk them dole bludgers. I'm not sure what they call them here, but I know people within where I used to live across the road. The children were unemployed and they left school at 15. They left school at 15 because then they could go to the unemployment, because the father has been unemployed for the entire family, marriage and the whole thing. And he was on the dole, and all of the income, they got all of the goods and the material, and they had a house, they had the television, they had it all, they had everything.
It's the generational unemployment thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, these individuals weren't artists, they were dole bludgers or taking benefit but having no real contribution to anything, regardless of what society you live in. They're completely devoid of that. Their only existence is to have this little family amongst themselves and isolate themselves pretty much from that, and supported by the government through the benefits that have been offered.
There's also another element of complete ignorance in people who criticize people who are unemployed. So they're the generational people who just, I'm not going to work, I never have, and I never will. That mentality. Yeah. I've worked bloody hard, okay? I made a conscious decision to no longer be employed, employ myself in what I wanted to do, which right now is this flat earth stuff, as well as other stuff that I'm working on in the background. But it's this, any nation that does not have at least a percentage of unemployed people has absolutely no possibility for financial growth. It cannot grow. This is what ground the Soviet Union to a halt, because there was full employment in the Soviet Union. The only way they could have full employment was to have a huge portion of the population be in higher education and further education, okay? Which is why there are so many Russian men and women with degree after degree, with high-level degrees, okay? If you want to look at the artists from Russia that are my age, they are absolutely amazing artists, because they grew up in a system where they were always competing with the West. So art is absolutely indispensable. It's part of what makes society richer, not just in the dressings, but in the concepts that go with them. Okay, so they're artists. They're
society is essential. It's essential for balance in a society to be able to express, and for individuals to take upon themselves to try and communicate to society through that medium. They're an artist. That's their profession.
That's it.
Doesn't mean you're dumb.
No.
This is the thing that
But there's something else. There's something else.
Really?
Let's say there's somebody who's unemployed out there who doesn't really know what they want to do. Okay, and these people get smeared because they don't know what they want to do. Okay, but the truth is like, really, for a nation to have full employment means zero possibility of growth, because how could they grow? How could they grow? Everybody's already working. What new thing could be brought in that could be manned? Nothing, because everybody's already working. So the only possibility is, the only possibility for growth is to bring in immigrants. And what we have right now in the UK is a large number of people who are unemployed, who are happy to remain unemployed. They are happy to remain unemployed, but we have growth too. They won't do it, and they have the right to not do it in the UK, because we fought a Second World War for things, you know? So they have to bring in immigrants. Otherwise, there isn't going to be any growth. That's just part of economics. That's how it goes. So when you think that people who are unemployed are making the country worse, like, no. First of all, if you took all of those people who are unemployed and employed all of them, immediately everybody's wages would drop, or the price of things would rise, right? And once you've got everybody employed, now you're going to start to stagnate, because you can't grow. So put that to the side. Now, what Patricia Steer has been doing, what Nathan Oakley has been doing, what Validation Boy has been doing, what Eric Dubay has also been doing. Let's point this out too. Eric Dubay has been saying that it's the juice, okay? And there's some something wrong with saying this. And I'm not a Jew lover and I'm not a Jew hater, okay? Jews are people. When you say it's the Jews, what are you doing?
You're gaslighting a particular so-called, you can define it as a culture of a way of living and using a understanding of you could call it a religion, but it's more to do with a lifestyle, if you like, and establishing certain understandings, but a mindset. But there's a big difference between an authentic Jew, if you like, and then this overlay of another force basically saying, look, we're going to hook into this Jewish authenticity, corrupt it, and we're not going to really define it, but somebody's going to call it Zionism. And this Zionism is the overarching force that's being supported and jacked up and held up by the Jesuits that are intertwined in this whole operation. And so it's not the authentics. It's a bit like labeling all Christians simply because they are part of a lifestyle that establishes certain values. And those values may or may not come from a so-called religion or doctrine that has a religion sort of concept. But many Christians don't necessarily read the Bible and don't necessarily hold it up as as sort of this is my truth kind of thing. And dare I say this, it gives you an established set of values. Now, that doesn't mean I'm Christian. Like, as you said, I'm not a Christian lover or a hater, but so with Jews as well. But also I say this, as far as I'm aware of the history that I understand, there were speeches that were made before the World War II began. And these speeches were by Hitler himself. And these have been recorded. They're repeated. You can read them and hear them. And what he was basically saying was that the Jews of Germany, the German Jews, if you like, that are the authentic ones that are running their own operation, running their business or running their lifestyle, are mixing and blending perfectly harmoniously with the German culture. Not a problem. And then along comes certain interferences along the way. And this establishes a awareness that the infiltration into the German government, a lot of Zionists. And it was the Zionists that took control of this so-called operation. They were minions, if you like, of the Jesuits. And there was this, again, deliberate attempt to corrupt a history, if you like, and intertwine the phrase authentic Jew, which it wasn't. It's a separate thing. They just hijacked it. And so he even said, we don't have this. And dare I say this, without history shows again, at the time pre-war, there was a corruption from the Zionists that started propaganda to the authentic Jews and the people having their own businesses and so forth in the street. They basically started putting their news articles up, basically saying, we want war against the Germans. And the Jews, if you like, started protesting and not opening businesses and not selling their produce, and they went on a strike. And this upset the whole balance of things. And before the war began, Hitler had already made a speech basically saying, this is what we want to, it's a bit like what Trump is now saying, he's going to clean the swamp out. What Hitler was aiming to do at that time was to clean out the Zionists, to find out who they were.
Yes, not the Jews. Not the Jews.
Exactly.
Zionists are their historicity is Khazarian.
Yeah,
it is not Jewish. It's not Jewish. But the reason I brought up the Jewish and the Arab debate, we are flat earthers, okay? We understand that the world is not a ball, okay? Now, we also understand that we were coaxing to thinking that it was a ball by a narcissistic, psychopathic mentality that has created wars, that has created all kinds of stuff. And despite all of those things, it has also created lots of goodness and progress. Now, the guys creating the goodness and progress are not the same guys that are going to war. They're not the same guy. It is not all one mentality. Government is not an entity. It is not an entity. It's an idea, okay? But it's made out of humans, people. Psychopaths predominantly. The ones that get to the top of the psychopaths. Now, this is what happens. We know that there are protected groups. One of those groups is Jews. Jews are protected, okay? They're protected in part by good people who understand that the Zionists will mess things up in the name of Judaism, and people will react against Jews that are not Zionists, okay?
It helps Zionists to keep this agenda going, this gaslighting going.
Totally. So Jews are protected because they're a minority, okay? They are protected. Now, you might disagree. You might say they shouldn't be protective. It's like, okay, let's look at the world through your filter. Okay. Now, you can't be trying to explain to people that the earth is actually flat. Okay. It's flat. We don't know all kinds of details about it, but it's flat, and we've been living under a spell. And that spell has tentacles that reaches out. Now, if you start saying it's the Jews, that's a problem, because now, if you're a prominent flat earther and you're saying it's the Jews, now there are governmental bodies that will be watching going, is this flat earth thing an extremist point of view? Do we monitor it for hate speech? Which is why I'm saying that Patricia's transgender has nothing to do with her behavior. There will be lots. I know a transgender man, okay? Lovely person, not a fucked up psychopath, okay? Being transgender doesn't make you into a psychopath, okay? So let's consider how we will be being monitored from the outside, okay? Let's not lie and hide things, okay? Give your opinion all you want, but you have to think, if you're saying stuff that's likely to have a movement or an ideology classed as extremist, you're doing a disservice to that ideology. And if what you're doing is you're gaslighting people like Patricia Steer and Nathan Oakley, saying to Rory McPherson, Rory McPherson turns to Nathan Oakley in Oxford. You were there, Lindsay, but you didn't know this. I didn't know this until Rory told me. Rory stood with Nathan. And by the way, people, I'm going to tell you something. I have no evidence, and Rory has no evidence other than his word. So you can doubt me, and you can doubt Rory, and you can believe Nathan if you want. That's up to you. But I'm going to tell you what Rory told me, and he will be with us next week, and he will confirm. Or if you want, you can go to him. Please don't pester too much, though. But never mind. He will come and he will say it. I have his go ahead. Rory finds himself stood next to Nathan Oakley, who has this channel, Mechanics of the Fourth Wall, and it's like, Nathan Oakley. And Paul is there, somewhere else, heavily pregnant. They're going to have a girl, everybody knows. Says, you must be excited to be having a baby girl soon, huh? And Nathan turns to Rory and says, you have teenage daughters, don't you? And Rory says, yeah. Must be weird thinking of all those teenage boys sticking their mucky fingers up them.
What?
Yeah, and Rory's like, what the fuck? And Nathan just strolls away. This is gaslighting. This is gaslighting, because there's no witness, there's no camera, there wasn't, I'm recording this, none of that. Okay, so now Rory's left with, did that just fucking happen? Did that just fucking happen? Which you know, Lindsay, and I know so well, okay? Yeah. This is gaslighting. You heard right, okay? You heard right. Rory said to Nathan, opening chit-chat about your baby girl. Nah, turn it about chat about your daughters being fingered by mucky-fingered teenagers. What the fuck? This is Nathan Oakley. This is why I've been telling people, open your eyes, watch. Nathan Oakley told Rory McPherson as well, after having done this, remember, Nathan Oakley knows that he said this to him, and he just fucked off and whatever goes on in a psychopathic mind. And later on, Rory is engaged.
Well, it's a bomb.
Yes, but Rory engages with Nathan on a video about whatever, money, right? Rory's let me know what he thinks about money making out of the truth. He doesn't agree with it, and I have fine, that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, and he's giving me his point of view, and I say, okay, that's your point of view. We don't agree. Doesn't mean I think he's a cretin and he should. So this is what Rory does. Nathan goes on the assault in public comments and tells Rory McPherson, who has a prosthetic leg, to go fuck his leg. Later, Nathan makes, go fuck your fake leg, okay? Later, Nathan makes a small little apology video where he doesn't say what he said, okay? He doesn't repeat what he said. And in the apology video, he still twists what Rory was saying. That's in, I reacted really badly, but Rory was saying this. It's like, no, you reacted really badly, and what Rory was saying did not warrant that reaction, okay? No. This is a psychopath. So remember, go and watch that video of Nathan Oakley's, and remember, what Nathan is talking about is not what happened. Patricia, in the comments of that very video, says, yeah, and anyway, what's all this about Nathan making more money than me? I've always earned more. She's shitting on Nathan there, okay, because she is a psychopath. So go and watch this video and read Patricia's comment before it disappears. So, or if you want, don't worry about it because I've got it saved. Now, we're talking psychopaths in the flat earth, okay? And so you might think, well, not psychopaths are needed. No, they're not needed. You do not need psychopaths. And some people out there saying, you're a psychopath, Antonio. Look at what you're doing. Say, whoa. How could I respond in a way that you can't call psychopathic or narcissistic? Because I'll tell you this, the range of narcissists is long. The qualities is long. No matter matter what you do, it will fit there somewhere if they want. If they want to put it through that prism, it's like, oh, you're a covert narcissist. That's what you are. If I did it really gently and quietly and calmly, I'm a covert narcissist. If I do it outwardly, I'm an overt narcissist. The quality of a narcissist is in what they say and what they do. If they gaslight, if they just say stuff that's just complete bullshit and blow your mind, and they just behave as if they never said that, that's one. The other is the type of thing. So there's the gaslighting with the type of stuff, and then there's the other stuff. I have never rallied people behind an attack of any type. I have never tried to coax people into doing anything against Patricia or against Nathan or against anyone, okay? I have never done that, and I can say that totally calmly because I know nobody's going to go and say, oh, yes, he did. But Nora can't say anything like that. That's why she said, you better not say anything about me, okay? So we have in the Flat Earth narcissists, psychopaths, fucked up people who will abuse somebody they know has gone on medication, who will abuse somebody that they know is physically disabled, pretend that this is not true, who has accused somebody of being a rapist. Now, you might say, let's go back to that Patricia never said that, it was just Stephen Chess. Fine. In which case, why did she not make ultra sure that everybody understood that she had not said that? Why did she not say, no, Stephen Chess, I know Stephen Chess, let's not pretend that she doesn't know. I know Stephen Chess has been saying that Antonio violently raped. He didn't. I think Stephen Chess means, but that's not what she did. Instead, it's this, let people come to their own conclusions. And their own conclusions, some of these people will be what I said before. Maybe he did rape her and she's trying to kind of just diminish it all because it's all too painful and tears and it must be true, okay? We're talking psychopaths in the Flat Earth. Stargods has been trying to point this out since shortly after being interviewed by Patricia. Also question this, guys. How many people has Patricia interviewed? Quite a few. What are happening to the interviews? They're drying up, okay? Why? And not Flat Earthers, not new Flat Earthers coming on? No, because people are seeing. And ask yourself, how many of those people she's interviewed does she have back on? A handful. What about all of the others that want nothing to do with her? Why do they want nothing to do with her? Why aren't the people who were the Houston Mixer all coming and saying, Patricia's absolutely lovely, great? Where are they? Where are they? Where's Omnieros, who met her in the real world? But what's going on? Ask yourselves, if you're confused, it's because somebody's fucking gaslighting you. And when somebody tells you you're being gaslighted, if you think the person gaslighting you is that person, then you need to go to sleep, have a good long sleep, wake up and look at the world afresh. Because we have psychopaths in the Flat Earth, and I've been trying to point it out. And I will, whenever I see any truly bad behavior, I will point it out. This is a fucking truth movement. This, in the Israel movement, okay, pro-Palestine movement, there's Ken O'Keefe, okay? Ken O'Keefe is a freaking agent. If you think, the media is controlled by the Jews. Somehow the media has had Ken O'Keefe talking about how despicable Israel is. Does that make sense? On the BBC, on Channel 4, on CNN, on all those channels, for those Jew-controlled media to have a anti-Jew, anti-Israeli propagandist, is that okay?
They need that. They always need the opposite in order to be displayed. It's a bit like, what's the name of that group that wear that mask?
Anonymous.
Anonymous. I mean, it's controlled opposition, paid and controlled and managed and all that sort of stuff. And they're not amateurs.
No, they're not.
And
so the reason I'm bringing attention to this is this, okay? I know people who outed Ken O'Keefe, okay? Who outed him, and Max Egan took over the outing, okay? And then kind of diminished it because it didn't work because Ken O'Keefe is too propped up, okay? So Max Egan kind of went to the side with a freaking thick brain and was just doing whatever. And he's still being applauded, okay? So anyway, there are people out there who cannot see clearly. I've pointed out qualities about Patricia and they still don't see clearly. I had Martin Lidker said to me, Patricia is in bits. She's knocking, she can't control herself. She's crying her eyes out. She's shaking. She's knocking over her orange juice. And half an hour later on a hangout, completely composed, right? Either she's absolutely erect and has this formidable way of putting herself together, or she's a psychopath and is playing a fucking role. Think about this, people, okay? So I'm going to ask now, and I genuinely mean this, and I'm completely happy for people to unsubscribe from me and hang out with Nathan Oakley, or unsubscribe from Nathan Oakley if they're subscribed to me, but also so that you're not, I don't want camps. I don't think the drawing up of camps is good. That's fucking division. There you go. That's what all of that was about, that they did, that Patricia did, that Nathan did. All of this division. We don't need division. So unsubscribe from me and unsubscribe from Nathan Oakley, and then listen to whoever you want, okay? But let Nathan Oakley know. In fact, everybody who unsubscribes from me, I'll know, has heard this and has also unsubscribed from Nathan Oakley, okay? And I'm going to watch later. I'm going to look at my numbers. But don't make it meaningless by unsubscribing from this channel. Unsubscribe from my big channel. Go to that channel and unsubscribe from Nathan Oakley, okay? And I mean it genuinely. If you want to let Nathan Oakley know, do this, okay?
Antonio, can I add something? Just thinking about this as well. One of the difficulties for anybody to lack sympathy about a person's position, such as Patricia's portraying herself to be in, is a lot of people find themselves in a similar situation where they're acting in that manner for their own survival. So there's a reflection of empathy in that behavior. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the person that's viewing this and judging it, or more aligning to Patricia than the truth, it as being they themselves as being pure psychopaths.
What did you say? Aligning with Patricia instead of with the truth.
Yes.
Some people are actually doing this. So this is why I say,
exactly.
This is why I'm saying, please unsubscribe from me. Don't feel that you have to be with one or with the other. You don't have to be with one or with the other. You genuinely
you have to be aware of it.
Say again.
The thing is that you're being aware of it doesn't necessarily mean that it changes anything apart from your acceptance of the truth. There's a big difference of sitting there and wanting to be a judge. There's a lot of people that will be viewing this and judging it, sort of looking for one thing or the other, as you just said. But the reality isn't that. The reality is what's actually happened. And what happened is a relationship that was not necessarily fully disclosed in the beginning, as it probably should have been. And as a result, it somehow went sour, as you would predict it to be. Even if you wrote a friggin' story about this, and the characters were written out this way, you would have tragedy in this story somewhere along the way, because somebody has betrayed the trust of their own honesty. They didn't disclose their own truth about who they are. And this in themselves is something that should have been done right from the very beginning. The fact that it isn't, this is where this is now leading to. That's the truth. So it now follows, if people are aligning themselves sympathetically to Patricia's perspective, she's traumatized by all this. The fact is that she seeded this to begin with. All of this really hangs on her.
How would it's like this? Sorry, Lindsay. It's like this, people, okay? We've heard how the Zionists infiltrated the German culture. There've been Jews in Germany for hundreds of years, like most other places in the world, okay? So, and they weren't leaving. Germany, before Hitler, was already having problems, okay? And they didn't leave like everybody says, oh, the minute there's a problem, the Jews leave, okay? No, come on, be real. They've got neighbors, they've got history, okay? They've got friends. They don't just up and leave for no good reason. So the German society was infiltrated by Zionists, and people didn't see, apart from Hitler and some of his advisors, okay? And I'm not applauding Hitler. Don't see it like that. I have no idea who the good guy, who the bad. No, never mind. I'm just saying facts.
He was fed the information.
Yes. Now,
from a higher controller that fed the information to bring about that reality, to bring about the mistrust and the hatred and the dislike, because all of a sudden he's looked at his government and he's gone, shit, half the people are fucking Zionists.
Yeah.
How did they get in control?
Yes.
So we gotta stop this.
So how would the portion of flat earth that is our portion of the flat earth, okay, we all know kind of Globebusters, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, Jeranism, Matrix D, a whole bunch of different people know lots of different people or different channels, okay? Then some of them associate with each other. And how would it look like if somebody infiltrated that? Number one, if somebody infiltrated that, would they say, how would it look like if somebody infiltrated that? No, they would not. They would not want people thinking infiltration. What would that look like? That's me. It's me who's saying, what would it look like? Okay? Who's not saying that? Who's not saying what would it look like if there were infiltrators in the flat earth movement? Okay. And I'm not saying that anybody who is not saying that is an infiltrator. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what would it look like if there was an infiltrator or a group of infiltrators in the flat earth? What would they do? First, they would make groups. That's what they would do. They would make a group and they would make that group feel special. And anybody who's not part of that group is part of a different group. They've just divided. Now, how are they going to divide? Are they going to say, let's all get together and divide? Or would they say, let's all have unity while we divide? What would they do? Think. Okay. So I urge people, I haven't watched Patricia Steer for ages until Barbie McGill said, go to minute 154 and watch, I think 154, it might be 54, of her last hangout with Mark and watch her completely smear Barbie. Okay. If you listen to the words Patricia Steer is saying, in the same way that you can listen to mine and they make sense and each thought follows on to the next one, and there might be run-on sentences like this very one, but they are all coherent in its entirety, go and listen to Patricia Steer and notice how it's a series of fragmented statements that do not have a coherent meaning. Go and listen, because that's word salad. That's what word salad sounds like. It's not just random words, it's random snippets that do not have a whole actual meaning. So go, please, I urge everyone, go and listen, pay attention to the word somehow, because that's one of her keys. Okay, somehow, the word somehow, and the word in a way. Okay, listen to those are like in neurolinguistic programming, those they would be not triggers, maybe, forget what the terminology is, a key. Okay, that's a key. Boom, and this is what word salad does. Okay, you have statement. All together is gibberish. It's just little implanting of little ideas, little thoughts, and this is word salad. And when word salad is used for gaslighting you, you recognize it because you feel totally uncomfortable. But when word salad is used to align yourself to someone, then all you've said is a whole series of lovely platitudes, and people sit there not noticing that they've been listening to a gibberish sentence going, yeah, I heard unity, I heard peace and goodwill, yeah, but the rest of the words, I mean, for goodness sakes, hi, I'm Patricia Steer. Who does this? Hi, I've been Nathan Oakley. Who goes out of the way in a channel where the name is there and everybody already knows who they are? Who goes out of the way to say their name in it? What is this? Bob doesn't say, hi, this is Bob Nodell. Jaron doesn't go, hey, this is Jaron Campanella. What the hell? Why would people do that? Say, hi, I'm such and such. Yeah, we freaking know. Get on to the next thing. Okay. So please pay attention to people who are trying to develop a character, a personality for themselves. Okay. That they can use. Okay. Patricia Steer would never do that. That kind of thinking. Okay. You will think, oh, Patricia Steer would never do that. She would even say Patricia Steer would never do that. Or the words, I would never do that. Even if it's a complete opposite. For instance, nobody takes 3 cats to the vet to get vaccinations and ends up with 3 cats that have been declawed. Nobody. That does not happen. And that's what Patricia Steer says happened to her cats. So if you think Patricia Steer is lovely vegan who loves animals, wake up. She had them freaking declawed. So when she's there with Rory, oh, don't claw me, Rory. He doesn't have claws. He's been declawed. Okay? Think, people. Think. Why is she saying these things? Come on. Why does she have a whole range of materialistic goods behind her whilst claiming to be this soulful person who wants goodness and better? No, she's playing roles and characters and she's planting memes in people's heads, all of which say Patricia is a lovely, beautiful person, and she's not. She's not lovely. She wanted to give my daughter, she suggested that I give my daughter for her 10th year birthday an empty box as a gift. She said this is what happened. I'll tell you the story in case you haven't already heard it. We pull up up to my daughter's birthday. So pull up, I've got the gift and it's wrapped. And she says, oh, do you know what would be, and I'm not joking, okay? This is what she said. You know what would be really funny? And I said, what? She said, if you gave her an empty box. And I said, how would that be funny? She said, oh, just imagine, she'd open it and it would be empty. And I said, that wouldn't be funny. And no matter how good the present was, the actual present that you were giving after playing this joke, no matter how good it was, that disappointment, that heartbreak, that horrible feeling would not be written off. In fact, she might not even notice what the real present was. And she said, oh no, you don't give her a real present after it. That's why it's so funny.
Yeah, that's not funny, dude.
No, that's fucking psychopathic to a 10-year-old girl. Come on.
And the only way that would work if you had a present, that couldn't fit in a box, and you gave an empty box, and they opened the empty box, and there was something inside that represented, like a picture or a symbol that symbolized the big present.
Yes. So in other words, so what I've just said, okay, this is gaslighting too. I didn't realize it at the time. Okay, I've learned so much more about narcissistic personality disorders and psychopath, and you don't need to have a device to look at the neurology of a person to know that they're a psychopath. You do not need that. So Nathan Oakley, fuck off. You can tell it from people's behavior. If somebody behaves like a psychopath, it's because they are a psychopath unless they're playing a role in a film. But if they're not playing a role in a film, if it's their normal real life, then they're a fucking psychopath. You do not need to wire them up, okay? So so this idea, how about you give your daughter a disappointment for her birthday? This is how it started. This is before I noticed a fucking lack of it. So here's the other thing. I mentioned this to my pals today. But everybody out there, okay? Just imagine you're with somebody that you think is a gender and you notice something that tells you that they're not that gender, okay? So in this case, it was the hips. Let me show you quickly this. I drew this the other day. It's just a quick little drawing in pen. And here's another one, okay? This is the same shape, okay? Leg, see? It goes from hip down to the knee, okay? That's how it goes. This violin shape, a lovely, elegant shape, okay? If instead of going like that, not having changed the angle, okay, not having changed the angle, this is not the calf. This is still this angle, okay?
Antonio, what's the black scribble above the leg?
I'll show you, okay? Yeah. This area is the void where there should have been this. That should have been there because the femur goes to the hip here. The hip goes, the femur bone meets here, okay? This is what I had presented in the real world. And I saw this, okay? And I thought, this hollow cannot possibly be there because the femur goes to the hip bone, okay? The musculature, the skeletal frame underneath that is more like this other, which is a male frame, okay? This, when I saw this, I tried to feel for the hip and there was nothing but padding. Now, like I said before, it could be the case that she was a narrow hipped woman like this, because it does happen. There are women who don't have that hourglass shape. This happens naturally. Not everybody who doesn't have a waist, who's female, is transgender or is not female, okay? Don't be under that illusion. But there are certain things about a woman, okay? Let's call it sense, that are lacking in men that have been converted into women, okay? And I remember somebody asking me after the relationship failed and she went off and I did the psychopath thing and a couple of people wanted to know things. What can you tell me about smell? Was there any smell? Any peculiar smell? What have you noticed anything about smell? And I said, the only thing I can tell you about smell is that there was none whatsoever. She would make coconut oil with vanilla as a scent. Perfectly fine. That's the only smell. There was no smell, okay? And this person then said to me, what about in yourself? I said, what do you mean? And she said, is your smell the same now as it was before? And it's only now that my smell, my odor, is coming back to being my odor. It's been an alien, an unfamiliar odor. And we all know our odors, we know when it's really bad, we know when it's not so bad. We know our kind of standard general odor. And if you smell yourself smelling like a human being that's not you, it's freaky. And anyway, I can't say who this person person was, but this happened, okay? So what I'm saying is, picture that you're a male, or if you're a woman, you can do an equivalent, and you notice this, okay? You're going to be freaked out, okay? You're going to have turmoil. You're going to be fucked in the head, excuse my French. You're going to be confused. There's going to be all kinds of questions. What does he say about you that you didn't notice? All kinds of things, okay? And then on top of that, you've got this politically correct view of the world, which is you're not really allowed to criticize that kind of decision, okay? So you can't really...
No, but you have every right to ask.
Yes. So, but when you want somebody gone, you're not going to stop there and ask them. It's just like, get out as soon as you can, please.
Yeah, so because, and dare I say this, you wouldn't have taken this action of outing her if you hadn't come to your own conviction that something wasn't really right.
Well, it's not just, I knew that there was something not really right then, but I couldn't, I was too, I thought, this is what I thought. This is how I rationalized my response. Gender change has nothing to do with psychopathy.
No.
And if I bring it in, it might give people the impression that psychopathy is linked to gender change. And I don't think that's fair.
No,
I genuinely do not think that that's fair.
True.
Okay. So it's not fair. Okay. But since then, since the rape thing and since all of that, don't feed him, giving no attention, I'm giving since all of that's gone on, I'm thinking, what a motherfucker. And then I see Barbie McGill, who's not my best friend, but she turns out to be pretty lovely. Okay. I've had a couple of wrangles with her before and, hug and make up and bygones be bygones and communicate back and forth from time to time. And I hear first that Barbie McGill has dropped. And I'm like, wow, another one. Okay. And then I communicate with Barbie and she tells me why she dropped. And Patricia is right there loving it and using it for narcissistic supply. And this is narcissistic supply for her as well. But one of the things that narcissists don't like is when the supply dries up. And the supply dries up from their flying monkeys. When the flying monkeys stop propping them up, that's when the narcissist does a scorched earth and moves and disappears and props up somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is like force feeding. Yeah, you want supply? Freaking take this. So I can't not say this. So, and the reason that I'm saying this is not spite against Patricia and not spite against Nathan Oakley. It's spite against their actions, because if they're making the flat earth into a place that welcomes psychopaths and welcomes psychopathic behavior and coaxes people into excusing psychopathic behavior for whatever reason, by bamboozling, by word salading, by saying don't feed them, if that's what's happening in the flat earth, no wonder people are dropping out. Okay. And if division is what's being caused, then again, what would an infiltrator look like? That's what they would look like.
But also, Antonio, this kind of energy that's happening, this little explosion in the flat earth due to the infiltrators that have set about this. I mean, this is exactly what they wanted, and they got it. The point, though, is that there are truth seekers, people that are genuinely still looking beyond the fence that's been put up by these infiltrators that have subjected us to all of this so-called little bombs that are going off here and there. And we're still looking beyond the fence, and they are a total distraction. And even though we have to pay some attention to it, I believe that the attention we're bringing forward is not to attack them, in that regard, but it's to bring light to the fact that there's a reason why a lot of globe heads, as you refer them to, don't come in, because they get fucked up. They see it as a complete psyop. And the reason part of that is because of the infiltrators. They get their little digs in here and there, and before you know it, the globe heads sort of turn their back to the whole thing. Why bother? It's just, and it's on that surface it is, because that's really when you read the stuff and you get all these shield comments and all these sort of stuff, it is actually a lot of bullshit.
And so you have to think this, okay, picture yourself as a brand new flat earther. You've just watched The Clues, or you've just watched ODD or Globebusters. You've just come into this and you're now looking for as much as you can, and you watch Patricia Stay. You're an intelligent flat earther. Watch Patricia Stay. How many think, who is this fake person? And pay attention to what's being said and thinks, what the fuck is this word salad? What is this? I thought we were going to hear about this person that's being interviewed, but we're not. We're hearing about her and her experiences, and It's all word salady and sounds a bit bullshitty. Pay attention. So what's this guy found, or what's this woman found? The one that's being interviewed.
Is this what Flat Earth's all about?
Yeah. So let's see what great discovery or what procedure or what it is that they're doing in the flat Earth. None of that. Do you have any brothers and sisters? What's your favorite color? All of it's like, wait a second. Is this really a show about the person that's being interviewed, or is this really a show about the person doing the interviewing? Okay. And this is a blow. I'm going to give you right now a low blow. This is a low blow. Okay. Because the gloves are fucking off. Okay. And I don't care if people don't hear don't make yourself into camps and decide, oh, I'm not in Antonio's camp. Fuck off then. You've not heard. Okay. You haven't got it. You have not understood. Don't get into camp. This is what level eyes look like. Okay. Do this across Patricia's eyes and you'll have this. That's a low blow, fucker. Dan Pratt pointing this out. She's got one eye markedly higher than the other. Okay. As you said, I don't have one eye markedly higher than the other. Yes, she does. She's also fucking anorexic. And I know anorexia is a condition. It's not so good. Not anorexic. Apologies. Bulimic. Okay. And I know that that's not good, but it is very closely linked to the narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. It's in that range. But this is Patricia. This is Patricia. If you don't hear this, if you don't understand this, if you look at her, you say, well, I'm not seeing one eye higher than them. It doesn't matter. Think, okay. You're having people like Dell smeared. Little digs. You've got people digs. I'm digging at Eric Dubay for his Jew comments because I think it's stupid. He knows they're a protected group in the West for good reason or bad. Okay. If people are going to start.
He started that very, very early in when he did his own, he sort of brought out the Flat Earth videos. And then he went public with that sort of information and knowledge right from the out. I mean, this is where I went a little cold on that aspect of it, because all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, you're not talking about flat Earth. You're actually now political, or you've got an agenda behind it. It's okay to watch a video about history if somebody's brought up information and it's consistent and reliable and all this sort of stuff, and it's a topic that is not then planted with flat Earth in front of it. And then you've got this character play outside of that. And this is what you're just saying. I sort of took a back seat from all of it in Eric Dubai's corner simply because of that. And I'm looking at the history and I'm trying to verify some of this myself. I'm trying to look at it and say, well, what's really going on here? What's the true picture? And when you look into the history, you realize if he's a true author of historian, if he's looking for facts and figures and so forth, then he should also be stating clearly the difference between Zionism and the infiltrators of those that are pretending to be part of that Jewish culture, with authentic Jews as being completely separate to it.
Think of this, people, okay? In the Torah, which is the Old Testament, it does not say anything about sacrificing people and drinking their blood. Where does that come from? Think about it, okay? How can you malign a group? You say they drink babies' blood. There you go, done.
It's in the Zionist.
It's also done with the royal family, by the way. I have no love for the British royal family, but when people say they eat babies, it's like, what the fuck are you saying? You can't just say that unless you've got actual freaking proof. What are you doing? You're just smearing whatever group you're in. You've just taken a big shit on it. That's what you've done, okay? So, what's his name? The dude, Savile, Jimmy Savile, and connections and stuff. It's like, right, wait. You think everybody freaking knew? You think everybody knew? Great. Go carry your thoughts with you. You have no proof, okay? So I have proof that Nathan Oakley's a complete piece of shit. I have proof from empirical evidence that Patricia is not a genuine woman and is a piece of shit. I also have proof that there are good people out there around them who do not see. They do not see this, okay? And I'm not going to carry on doing this. I'm going to move on and carry on with maps and carry on with other things, okay? I've got a brilliant freaking flat Earth proof experiment that I'm going to conduct, and that I'm then going to propose, and I'm going to see whether IPS will take it up and run with it or something. But this bringing in elements that are bad, okay, like accusing the Jews without stipulating Zionists, not saying incidentally at some point in a hangout. Of course, not all Jews. No. If you're going to say not all Jews, then it's not the Jews. The Jews. That implies all. It does. Apologies, but unless you put a qualifier, not all the Jews, then you're saying the Jews, the Caucasians, the blacks, the Chinese, whatever you want to say. Okay? So unless you put a qualifier, you've just smeared a whole species. I know Jewish people. I know lots of different people from different backgrounds. I know dickhead black guys. I know really good black guys. And I don't know any dickhead Chinese. I know lots of Chinese. And I know a hell of a lot of asshole white folk. Okay? I know so many more of those. Okay? But I'm not going to say from my experience, therefore, there's just so many more assholes in the white race because of my personal experience. I'm going to just not say a statement like that. Okay? So when you think of what's being done to the flat earth, infiltrators are making gangs, are making groups, divide and conquer. Okay? Confuse to multiply. Who's confusing you? The person who's making you face up to reality, or the person that's doing a dance that's confusing to you? When what I'm doing is saying, dude, look at that fucking weird dance. Who's confusing you? Me or the fucking weird dance? It's the weird dance, okay? And get over it. You made a mistake. You thought this person were genuine. You've made mistakes before. You thought, well, you were on a spinning globe. I invited her into my fucking home. So I made a big fucking mistake, and I'm in the position to tell you these things. And nobody else is saying anything.
But you see, this is the thing, Antonio. This is the point. From the point that you established a relationship with this person with intent and integrity and honesty. You know what I mean? It's all this. I can't understand it. If any of this is created in any other way, it doesn't make any sense at all. The only thing that I see is that if you've initiated a relationship with somebody and you've not disclosed your own truth about who you are, these are the consequences that come from that, you know? And that's the truth. Simple as that. Everything else is just the weight of what started in the first place.
And this is the thing. What would infiltrators look like? What would they do and what would they look like? So, number one, what has Patricia Steere actually brought to the flat earth other than as a rallying, unifying element, which by unifying, I mean making into a gang. That's not unified, okay? So wake the fuck up. So what has she done? Nothing. Zero. She's never even used her P900, okay? What has Nathan Oakley done? Nothing. Zero. What has Martin Lidke done? He's discussed freaking maps and how they've changed and shit, okay? He's shown stuff. He spent time doing stuff. And this is Martin Lidke, who you all know did a hit piece on me and later realized he'd been headfucked by Nathan and apologized. And, you know, you can't hold a grudge. You know, the guy apologized. Cool, okay? What have everybody who's been interviewed by her, what have they done? What did Mark do? The freaking clues. You know, what has Patricia done? Fuck all. But cause division and heartache and problems and confusion in people. And I know some of these people, and they're really kind-hearted people. They're good people, and they're just fucking suffering. They're suffering because of what I'm saying, because they don't want to hear it, because their heart is with the tears. That's what the tears are for. Oh. Anyway, sorry, just 1 second. I just got a message from Barbie McGill. I'm going to send her a link. She might want to join, and she can tell us what's what, you know, from the horse's mouth. Just a second. Oh, I forgot. I could just come here. I'm also going to invite Dan Falcon back shortly, if that's okay. His channel was just banned, gagged for 90 days. Same as my other channel.
There's so much information going out about demonetizing all the channels and the attack that's going on at the moment. And the CEO of YouTube are trying to corporatize the whole process, bring in mainstream.
Yes, I remember when YouTube didn't have adverts.
Yeah.
YouTube, I don't know if anybody of you can actually remember this. YouTube used to just be videos. There were no adverts. No YouTube videos had adverts. Then it was sold to Rupert Murdoch, I think it was, or whomever. And not long after, adverts, a couple of adverts. And then everything else, okay? And now, because we have adverts, some of us put adverts. Otherwise, they put adverts for us and give people the impression that we're advertising, yeah?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit. But Oh, here's a change of tack. Okay, let's leave that. Just keep your eyes open for infiltrators in the flat earth. Okay, there are people out there who have really good ideas and who are actually achieving stuff, like bringing it to people's attention in public, in the street, in the real world. Okay, organizing various different things. Okay, no call for violence, despite having outed Jason Carl Hornsby. Okay, no calls for violence. Okay,
Antonio, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How did you come about the disclosure of his true name and the alias?
Daniel Winfield. This is what happened. Chris Truseeker. Chris Truseeker plays games through a platform called Steam. Okay.
Yes, I've used it.
Yeah, and at some point he heard that Steamy Boy, so Jason Carl Hornsby, Jace, used it too, and somehow Chris found him there. That's where he found the name Jace. Okay. Because when you first sign up for security reasons, you have to sign up with your real name. You can't just make up a name. Yeah. For cyberbullying and for all kinds of reasons. So so he found him, and at one point he found he was in a hangout, and he said, "I'm going to have to go soon because I've got a dope delivery at such a place in so long." Okay, and he was wearing flip flops. So, and he said he was going to go. He was going to go on his bicycle. So Chris said, "Right."
This was a chat in some sort of a chat room or something.
No. This was in a hangout. He was in a hangout. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna. I've seen him in hangouts where he's handling cannabis. Yeah, it's legal in that state, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to sell it to out-of-towners. Otherwise, the out-of-towners would just go to a dispensary and get it cheaper. You know. I don't know. Anyway, it's popcorn weed, really poor quality. Anyway, so he says he's going to go, and because Chris is Chris, he goes, right, okay, he's wearing flip-flops. He's not going to go for like a 2-hour bicycle ride. He's going to be going local, okay? So in flip-flops, this amount of time, he's probably in a 2-mile radius of this point, which is the delivery point, where he said that he was going to a truck stop to deliver this stuff. Okay, I think it was a truck stop, might have been a laundrette. So Chris narrowed it down to a 2-mile radius. And when Chris dropped out for being deranged, I'll address that in a second, by the way, he was deranged from Globebusters. But when Chris dropped out and he said, you know what, fuck this shit. If you don't want help, if you don't want to actually come to any resolution and fix the shit that's going on with sniping and Tim Osman, then want nothing to do with you lot. And so Dan and Chris were in communication, and Dan took it upon himself to spend the time looking through various different public websites and found him. And then we verified with Martin Lidka, who actually spoke to him on video, I think last Christmas or last year.
He saw his face, in his face.
Yes. And at in his face too, in a very brief video that he pulled immediately after. That's him. Okay. Anyway, so that's how we found him. Now, regarding Chris having his wrench taken off him by Cammy Nodell. Cammy Nodell was helping Globebusters to moderate. Okay. She's not just helping moderate. She's doing a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And she's seeing that they've been sniped. So obviously now it's like, Jesus, what the hell? So that's a little bit of a distraction. We have to think of this. Cammy's there. She's trying to make sure that everything's running smoothly. And now they've been sniped. So now there's disruption to the making sure that everything's running smoothly. Because obviously being sniped is not everything running smoothly. And Chris starts to point out that Yvette, Rebel, knows Jace personally. And he starts pointing this out, having a wrench in Globebusters. And Cammy asks him to stop doing this, to stop trolling, because he copy-pasted this and was saying it repeatedly. Now, Yvette had complained that he was abusing his wrench. And rape caller Stephen Chess, who obviously doesn't like Chris Truseeker, and neither does Patricia, despite Chris having never done anything wrong to Patricia, but she smeared him too when he dropped, the same way as she smeared Bobby McGill. When he sees that Chris has no wrench, he blocks him. But Cammy unblocks Chris, as in, dude, no, I took his wrench from him just as a way of saying, dude, just take a break, because people do get burnt out. It's very taxing to mod in so many different channels, and Globebusters is a channel that needs a lot of strong modding because of the troll attacks that Yvette brings with her. Okay, I'm going to show this, by the way, in this hangout. I'm going to show evidence of this. So,
cool.
So this happens. Chris thinks, you know what, fuck it, makes that video, and fuck it, I share that video, and lots of people watch that video, and as a consequence, I don't know don't know what happened, okay, but I don't know whether. Well, I don't know. I don't know, so I can't go into it. But that's basically what happened, okay. There was no malintent by Cammy Odell. She wasn't taking sides. She was just really thinking, dude, I think you're a bit burnt out, and because I've done it with Tony Russo on the sun tracking. I took his wrench from him, and when you no longer have a wrench, first you feel offended because they've just taken the wrench off you, so you say, do you know what, fuck you, which means you take a break even if it's in protest, right? Or at least you see you no longer have a wrench and say, right, I don't have a wrench, and after a few minutes you get used to letting messages slide because you no longer have a wrench, and you see abusive messages and channels, and you think it's up to the other moderators, okay? So you go, well, okay, I hold my hands up. By the way, this gesture is a Masonic gesture in court. This is not court. This is my living room. I can do this gesture as many times as I want. It's also a Spanish gesture for saying, I don't know, okay? So, for the conspirators out there. So this happened. This is what happened, okay? As a consequence of that, it gave a kickstart to people to get a bit more active in doing stuff. It caused Globebusters a hell of a lot of problems, which I don't think they deserve, but at least now they see freaking clearly that Yvette is an infiltrator. Come on, she runs troll groups. She's brother or she's sister to David Quintana. It's like, how can you wait, I say that I have no proof. I'm just going by the eye shape, the eye color, the general features, and the fact that they were together on Halloween, I think it was, or Thanksgiving, not Halloween or Thanksgiving, whenever, a family holiday, family festivities, okay? But I could be mistaken. They could be cousins. I don't know. But similarities. Look for similarities, people, in the video that we. Oh no, it was pulled, so you can't see. We might put it up another time. So she threw a hissy fit. Yvette threw a hissy fit. And basically that's what happened. When I outed or doxed, if people want to call it that way, putting public records out in public. I don't know how that's doxing of a guy that's got all of his records public and his face and his email, everything. Anyway, so when I did this, Yvette threw a real hissy fit over on PMA's channel. She was I could see she was frothing at the mouth. So I was laughing, saying, look at you frothing at the mouth. She said, oh yeah, you'll be frothing when you're in a coma and all kinds of stuff. You want to see me launch a troll attack? So I've got this and I'm going to show it now. If you take over, Lindsay, I'm going to go for a P and then I'm going to cue it up and then we'll show it, okay?
Yeah, please.
Cool. So I'm gonna mute, hand over to you. Lindsay, if you would pick up by explaining to people a little bit more about how to see psychopathy or narcissism, because I know that you know. So if you would just give people pointers, if you give people pointers while I go and who's it? Oh, right, good.
I can only really describe things from a personal experience, and some of those experiences are difficult to talk about if you yourself have suffered as a result of it. More often than not, what seems to happen is that if you were somehow indoctrinated in your own family, bullied to become a tough individual, to grow up strong, but in a sort of possessive way or whatever, you don't necessarily have to be born to be a psychopath. And in actual fact, the way I see it, you can establish this over a period of time by mimicking other people's behavior, because you yourself are confused about what you want to be or where you want to be, and you mimic other people's characters or traits. That's not to say that you are a psychopath at that time, but over a period of time, you've actually developed characters that are not necessarily your true reflection of who you are. It's a mask. Again, you're not necessarily at that point even a psychopath. You can develop narcissistic tendencies which focus purely on everything is all about you. You can be somebody who's looking at yourself constantly in all sorts of ways. So every time you interact with society in one way or another, you're looking at the connection as how it affects you. So you lose some of the ability to have empathy with others. You can't necessarily put yourself in their shoes and have an emotional experience from that. This is part of the development, if you like, of becoming more narcissistic, where you lose the ability to feel other people's pain to a point where sometimes you develop a survival tactic, a method of becoming a character that engages other people's attention. It draws those other people into you, and you realize that you can establish a connection, this energy connection with this person by mimicking this kind of behavior. And it becomes, to some degree, it becomes a need for that individual to engage with other humans or other animals in a way in which keeps them or keeps their energy focused towards you or the self. And this is where you develop that high level of narcissism, because now you're developing an awareness that your behavior, your own actions, can have a positive or negative energy reaction of others. It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. What you're looking for is a reaction. And what Antonio referred to as a gaslight reaction, or a bomb, what I consider to be these little mini bombs that somebody might let off. And they do it without anybody being aware of it. And I'll give you an example of just a simple one for me. I'm 6'6", so I'm sitting in the train in the underground. So fair enough, I've got long legs. It's not my fault, but they're there. So they stick out a little bit more than normal people. So people in a busy train might be standing. This one day, it very rarely happens, but this one day, this man standing there trod on my foot. And it actually felt like it was a deliberate tread. But when I opened my eyes to look upward, he had his back completely to me. So I might have thought to myself, well, maybe it was an accident. But anybody treading on anybody's foot's going to notice that.
Even if you might think it might be a bag or a coat or something. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to look. Most people will notice and look, well, he had his back to me and he kept his back to me, which, again, I sort of let it go. I didn't think too much of it. It was an accident, perhaps, so I didn't really think anything of it. Coming to the train next platform as we're slowing down and the doors are opening, so to speak, or the doors haven't opened yet, but we've come to a stop. He turned around and glanced peripherally to look at me, and he saw that I was staring straight at him, and his face went into this gurney smile. He couldn't help it. It just was fucking automatic. He just went like this little smile, like as if he knew he set this thing up. And the fact that I caught him out by having this opportunity to look at him, he smiled, that he relished in that moment, like he got caught out. He goes this flush, his physical reaction, couldn't help himself. And he was out that door as quick as you like. I wasn't going to do anything anyway, but I knew that he trod on my foot deliberately, and he must have done it to the point where he just saw that it was protruding further than other people. So that was an opportunity for him to do this little gas bomb. And it was a morning. So he did this because that's his trigger point. He gets a buzz out of doing shit like that. And so I recognize there are people that just do that, just for that, to get that little reaction, that little bombshell.
Well, look at what Nathan Oakley did, persuading Martin Lidker that he downloaded Daytime Nighttime from me. Okay? Think about it. Nathan knows. Listen, guys, what I'm going to do, if it's okay, I'm going to play a portion of a video. Yeah? If you mute yourself,
I will.
So do you remember what I said about presenting yourself? If you present, don't mute yourself just now, because I'm going to set it up. I'm going to try to share screen without showing to everybody. So I'm going to present you to everyone. You're muted, by the way. You muted yourself. So I'm presenting you to everyone. And when I'm set up, if you would then present me to everyone, and I will let the video play. You can take a break. It will go on for a while. I'm going to show things to let people know. To show that what I'm saying is true, and to show, because it's a good time to show what Nathan Oakley was doing to Martin, which is very similar, standing on his toe, and then when Martin looks around, the smile, because I was there in that Skype chat, and he knew that I was going to do this, which means that he knew that Martin was going to know, but he still fucked with Martin's head anyway.
Antonio, when you're ready, all I'm going to do is click on your image down on the bottom. Is that what I need to do?
Yeah, you're going to click on my image on the little arrow next, and then you're going to display to everyone. So if you click on the arrow, it gives you an option, display to everyone.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
I got it. Are you ready yet?
No, you'll see when the image changes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I don't want to we get sniped.
Yeah. Okay, are you seeing a change?
Yes, I have. I've seen now you're on a website or a page.
Yeah, so if you now present me to everyone, I will hit play and we'll watch some of this video. I was going to upload this video, but I don't need to. I'll just show portions of it, and that will serve the same purpose, okay? So you might need to turn your volume up, people, if you want to hear what's being said. In this video, you are going to see Chris True Seeker saying a couple of things and video evidence that what he's saying is true. Enjoy.
I watched your videos, you fucking psychotic rapist. I know it was you who fucking made daytime nighttime. And you can go fucking die, you worthless scum. And Tim, I am the one who is calling Antonio a rapist because he is. Patricia was raped. She is not lying. And yes, he physically raped her with her saying stop.
This is, for those who don't know, Skype, and that's his Skype avatar. Stranger XX, also called Stephen Chess, a moderator on Globebusters. This is who Chris is referring to. So pay attention to what he wrote and what he told
you.
I'm just scrolling ahead.
Everybody look.
We've all seen this.
Actually do something about this fucking scrotum cunt, right? You need to get together and do something. There are people who have met him that know what he looks like, that know where he is. So you need to do something about this fucking arsehole that is not going to stop and is not going to rise of his. And you need to do something. And the people that you think that are all right, they have information on him that they're not purposefully not sharing with you. Does that not tell you something? Are you stupid? What is wrong with you? Seriously. I have been helping flat earth people nearly every day for months and months. And, you know, because you are at the top of a particular corner of YouTube, it doesn't make you immune to manipulation, and it doesn't make you know it all compared to other people that you should listen to.
Looks like Antonio's gone, and he's might be not coming back, so we'll have to find out what's going on there.
No worries, Lindsay. I'm streaming.
Ah, hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm very, very fine. Thanks. How are you doing, Lindsay?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yes, I always look at these things and understand them that they've got to go. There's a journey that this has to go through.
Yep.
Lindsay,
give me 1 second. Maybe he doesn't know that he's dropped, so I will contact him right away.
Okay, cool.
2 seconds.
No problem. Anyway, I can go on talking about this before when Antonio comes back on. I took a back seat to all of this when I started watching it because I began to get myself engaged with Flat Earth. I went to Oxford. I went to the Bedford experiment. I started meeting various people that were part of the Flat Earth movement, if you like, and it felt legitimate in as much as people that were coming together to discuss what their experience was. It was good to know that there were other people out there who were coming to terms with Flat Earth. It was flat. Earth is really flat. That was such a transitional phase for me. It felt rewarding to make the effort to go and see some other people in reality, meet them in person. But at the same time, the reason I looked into Flat Earth is because I was seeking truth. I was looking for answers, and Flat Earth, if you like, got in the way of seeking that truth. That's what I thought originally. And then all of a sudden, it became pretty much obvious that you could consider Flat Earth a foundation, a platform that all the other theories or all the other realities of our nature, our life, the universe and so forth, fits in perfectly, actually. It doesn't necessarily mean that the concept of how it all works is fully understood. It just simply means that it brings to light the other sciences that have tried to attempt to keep a heliocentric model existing using their theories, and that being accepted, because if you look at the measurements and you look at the way in which they talk about it, it's got to make sense to a point, because it wouldn't be convincing if it didn't make sense. But when you start looking at things over here in the flat earth and you start looking at sort of, hang on, how can water wrap around the world? That doesn't really make sense if you really think about it. And then you look at the science that they're trying to talk about, gravity holding the water molecules into the surface and all this sort of stuff. And you start to understand that that theory doesn't really explain how nature actually works. And so therefore you've then got to really start questioning, well, hang on, gravity doesn't really work the way in which everybody seems to be wanting to accept how it works. It's not, it doesn't fit the model anymore. And then you've got people becoming aware of flat earth and talking about it and opening their minds up and becoming more open to more, takes away veil of the disguise. You start to see the charlatans behind the the frames, the puppeteers that are controlling all the illusions. And then you start to question whether or not you're becoming a conspiracy theorist. And then you start to understand that most of the conspiracies and the term conspiracy theorist is manufactured to stereotype people who are looking for truth. And all of a sudden the truth comes out, and you start to understand that most of these so-called conspiracies are not conspiracies, but they are what's really going on, and it is reality, it's truth.
I have a real simple thing to show. Echo, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's just one of those things that all of a sudden you realise that if our history has always been infiltrated with agendas to keep humanity at a conscious level in order for them to use systems to control the mass, it doesn't matter if there's only a few thousand people that are waking up to certain things. As long as they can control it, they can benefit from it in some way, can keep and divide and conquer. So what they invest a lot of effort and energy into then is developing individuals to become shills, infiltrators at all different levels of movements, and they go in and they stir up whatever they stir up.
So this is a tactic that they use. Okay, here comes an infiltration tactic. Okay, so somebody appears, and this somebody who appears is really not happy with the trolls, and they go into troll channels and they say, you despicable trolls, I don't like you. And all the trolls say, oh, let's call that channel been taking pics. Okay, I don't like you. And all the trolls say, oh, boo, been taking pics, you're not our friend. And been taking pics goes and says, oh, all the trolls are attacking me. And all the good people say, yeah, they've attacked us too, you'll be okay with us. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to show you this. I'm going to give you guys this. You can take this with you, this idea. You can explain this when you're talking to somebody about the curvature of the earth. Okay, what's this? This is a gyroscope set on a plane that's going to fly around the surface of the earth. And at one point, this is going to be like a 6-hour flight. At one point, that's where the gyro would be, because gyros have rigidity in space, which means they're independent from gravity. Okay?
Yes.
Halfway through, it'd be like this. And at the end, it would be like that, which means that the plane would have crashed because it has lost its horizon. Okay? Now, when you tell people this, and this is what happens, you tell people this, and they will argue with you regarding the plane moving and correcting and moving and correcting, and that's what they will say, that the gyro must correct somehow. Okay,
which it doesn't.
But this is the thing, they will say it corrects. People will even say, oh, there are now new devices on the gyros that make them correct. Like, oh really, all the smaller planes don't have these devices, all the planes before that was invented didn't have these devices, and in fact these devices probably don't even exist because they're not needed. But once you've explained this and had a good discussion about a plane with a gyroscope, which at this point the gyroscope would tell the plane that it was banking down. Okay,
yep.
That's what this would be telling the plane. It would be telling the plane that they're banking down, so they would be pulling up. Okay,
yep.
The plane would have crashed. It would crash. Okay, now once you've told this to people, say, okay, let's say to people, this would be let's see what ratio this is of a circle. Okay, so you depict a circle, you say, okay, this is a portion of a circle. Okay, and this circle is at the equator. Okay, let's call this, I don't know, 3,000 miles if you want, whatever. Now remove the plane and say, okay, this is a gyro on a desk at the equator. And without a plane, the equator is going to rotate on a globe. So 3 hours later, the gyro should be this at this angle, and it won't be. And that's it.
You've just described the perfect experiment that anybody can do. If they get a beach ball, a basketball, exercise ball, whatever, and you get a gyro and you spin it at the very top, and you then move the gyro physically around, that gyro will be fixed in that location. They're fixed in that spin. It won't adjust itself, and gravity doesn't affect the gyro, as you say. Nothing affects the gyro once it's in that position, as long as that gyro continues to spin in the same speed and the same revolution, which on the planes all they have is a little bit of battery to spin a generator, and it turns the gyro. It keeps it powered, and once it's fixed in that horizontal plane, the plane just follows that horizontal line. And what you just said is exactly right. If there's a curve below, the gyro is not going to know that, and it doesn't do there's no adjustments at all. So the plane would continue to go on a horizontal line, which would mean the plane would go out into space, go away from Earth eventually, because the curve will be going down and the plane will be going away.
So there you go. Exactly. either the plane follows its horizon and ends up flying as it's flying round, flying in that direction, which means eventually flying, because it's not banking down, because it's got no reason to. It's following the plane's horizon, okay? Or it's adjusting for the curve. And if it's adjusting for the curve, it no longer has the plane's horizon finder. Okay. Now that's not what we have in the real world. In the real world, we have exactly what Lindsay said. You have the plane, the pilot getting up to altitude. They know they're climbing because apart from gravitational forces, apart from G-force, you've got your horizon changing, which tells you you're climbing. You then level off and it tells you you're now leveled off, the same as when you were on the ground. And then you continue in that position until you level down, angle down to land. That's what happens. It's level, it's flat, it's indisputable. This place really is flat. I know there are some flat earthers out there who aren't totally sure. You're never going to be totally sure of the shape of it in its entirety because you don't have the scope to ascertain the empirical evidence. You're never going to go high enough to see the entirety of the illuminated earth.
No human being's ever been high enough to know, has been wide enough to know, and has been deep enough to know. What's beyond that? So Russians 8 miles, that's the deepest. Up in the heavens, I don't know how high somebody can go up. You know, we don't know. We've had rockets go up, amateur rockets, but all the spaceships that go up, they tend to actually do a horizontal. You watch it. And
yes.
It's doing horizontal.
Yes.
So it seems as though there is a limit as to how far out outer space basically is.
Yes, I think we're in a layered thing. Lindsay, I'm going to try playing the video again. I might drop again, but the portion of the video that I'm at now is you weren't seeing my screen at all, were you? No. But what I was going to do was I was going to try again, but in order for me to know that I've dropped, if I do drop, if you would read, I've got it posted a page for you to read, and if I can hear you reading it, I know that I'm still here. It's not long; it's only a page or two. But let's see what happens. It's Rebel Yvette offering to launch a troll attack. Okay, so if you would fix the screen onto you, or the ghost who's there. Never mind. That's cryptic talk. Yeah. Okay, so Lindsay, would you display yourself to everyone while I look for?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can show me, and if you read my comments and her comments, okay?
Okay. From your Antonio at the top, Gerald Sam, tell it to P. Mars, who stole copyrighted work, fool. Rebel, you want to see me put my effort into organising a troll attack.
And then at the bottom?
The bottom, down at Rebel. Please say yes, because I'm not a lame, pathetic pussy.
Yeah, pathetic. She was livid because I had shown her, I had shown her dancing with David Quintana, who she had let troll Globebusters countless times. So here's further. So here's where she says, please say yes, because I'm not a lame, pathetic pussy. And here it continues. Do you see this is not edited? Okay. So if you read from here.
Yeah, Rebel, you'll know when I launch a troll attack on you.
Okay. Let me play some more. Now I think it might scroll up to where.
What's wrong with you, Pete?
So that was it. Just a second. Let me pause and find Nathan Oakley coaxing, and this is in case people haven't already seen it. Here's Stephen Chess. Are you there, Lindsay?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Still here.
Okay, so...
Okay, this is Stephen Chess. All right, so I can barely read it.
Oh, okay, let me see if I can make it bigger.
Maximize the video?
I can't because it's already...
I see.
I tell you what I'll do. I will play the audio of the video, okay? I think I read it there, okay?
Yes.
Right, so...
But the horrible truth was that it was absolutely physical. And you think that's okay?
Let me go back.
Yeah.
Guy. Look, and as for ex-stranger Stephen Chess, he was reveling in it. Do you not know? Can you not read? He publicly accused Antonio of raping somebody. Patricia. This guy. Look at that little cheeky chipmunk face. She's not lying.
So, are you still there, Lindsay?
I'm still here. I'm just over. Every time I see this, and I haven't seen it that often, by the way, but it's still shocking, really.
Yeah. So, this is in the video called Flat Earth Smear Campaign. You be the judge. If anybody wants to go and check this, this is a Skype call, but there's also comments left under a video. Okay, so they're public. Yeah. This Skype call is not public, but there's obviously the other ones are. So
she was raped. Patricia was raped, and yes,
Yeah.
he physically raped her with her saying stop. But
You know what amazes me is the literal words he uses to deliberately make it a point that he almost first-handedly was a witness to this event.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
yes,
In order for somebody to state this in such a way, it's as if he was verbatim
yes.
speaking exactly as she described it to him.
So either she actually said this to him, or he completely made it up off his own bat, and she did not correct this.
Yeah.
So let's play a little bit more.
absolutely physical. And you think that's okay? You think that is okay?
So are you still there, Lindsay?
I am. Yep.
Okay, so this is Patricia Steer smearing Barbie McGill.
It's in sooner than you thought. She starts slurring your words.
Let me explain. I explained it earlier.
They are fake people. They are plastic, false, full of shit people. She's on medication. Barbie McGill is having some personal problems, so she's on medication. Takes a tablet. And it kicks in sooner than she thought, so she starts slurring her words. Patricia Steer knows this. Barbie and Patricia had communicated beforehand. But watch what Patricia Steer does.
Working toward a common goal. Those are really the underlying underpinnings, I guess, of the entire channel that I've got. That's why
No, the underpinnings of the entire channel that she's got to aggrandize herself by association. You see, she interviews lots of very popular people, or people that are very good in what they do, and people just assume that, they must all be friends. Now, why don't you pay attention and notice how many of those people want absolutely nothing to do with her? There's a handful that still have anything to do with her, okay? Really, think about it. Why do you think this is? Why is it not just a rolling series of a lot of different, however many people she's interviewed? Instead, there's a handful of people.
interview people because I want to find out who they are as human beings, because sometimes we forget that other people on the internet are human beings. Because
Do you forget that other people on the internet are human beings? Is that what happens? I never have forgot that the people write the comments.
behind keyboard, and we might make comments and put them there and not really understand that there's somebody there with a heart and soul and family members who has put themselves out there, and they hurt like you hurt. You cut them, they bleed too. So making crazy comments and spreading rumors about people,
Like rape?
it's just not what this whole thing is about. If we've been able to wake up and come this far to think flat earth was the truth, we need to.
You don't think flat earth is the truth. The truth is the earth is flat.
The hate.
You're gone again. Sorry, man.
No problem. 5 seconds.
Okay, dude. Thank you. Okay, so yes, he'll be back. I'm not sure if I should continue talking about what I was talking about, but to me, this whole episode that's happening lost a lot of people, including myself. I sort of took a step back because I didn't want to question everyone and start accusing everyone. But it became clear to me that there were some people that were amongst the groups of people that when you were meeting them and talking to them, some of them, you didn't get the right feeling or the same feeling that you got with others. And I'm not saying that there's something strange about that. I think a lot of people get those vibes, if you like. And because they're making the most noise in the group, you just back away from it. You take a step back because you don't necessarily want to be participant in that, because all of a sudden that group you start seeing is they're creating a drama that is not therefore focused on what they were in the group in the first place. And a lot of people see that very easily, very quickly. And this is, I think, where all of a sudden this gaslighting of classifying or trying to classify flat earth awareness as a psyop, and how easy it is for people who have not ventured into the flat earth and looked into it properly, can justify not bothering because they're fully aware that in their world it is a psyop. So like other things, there's no point in actually looking at it. And what's the point? So if you get people infiltrating infiltrating and infecting the conscious growth that's coming from that awareness and distort everybody else's focus. And it keeps away so many people deliberately, and that's what it's designed to do. And what seems to be happening at the moment, which is basically why I'm saying these things, is because I see there's a cleansing going on, because time enough has passed where those that are really looking for truth are starting to see those that are putting up the barriers or the fences or the little bombs that I call, and basically cleaning it out, shining light on it and saying, you're not here to basically grow. You're here to just enjoy and disrupt and confuse and, keep people away from this whole thing, to suppress it.
Yep, and exactly what you said. Sorry, Lindsay, but exactly what you said. They make even look Flat Earth stupid.
Yes.
They make it like a magazine, a chit-chat magazine, rumours, look how pretty I am, look at this dress, look at that person, let's all disapprove of that person. It's like I hate to say this, but like a Jeremy Kyle style thing. And by people pointing it out and then being called drama, you're doing drama. This is all just drama. It's like, wait, should we just sit quietly and let people make YouTube Flat Earth into a chit-chat bullshit, no evidence, no thought, just so what have you been doing today?
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Flat Earth and all the hot potatoes? No Flat Earth and no other hot potatoes. Just, hey, how about I tell you some stories in the guise of me interviewing you, and from time to time ask a question so the camera kicks over to you, and that way people won't realize what I'm doing. So what do you think of that? And then the other person jumps in, like, great, let me tell you this other wonderful story about me when I was great. Okay, that's all it is. That's all it is.
What you're talking about here is really a form of professional entertainment, a process, and there's a engagement at a certain level. So it's like interviewing a musician, a person that's successful, and you start talking about, you want to know about that person, where they come from, what kind of style they like, what cars do they own and drive, all sorts of details. Do they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? All that kind of information, as you just said. And this is feeding a certain type of people who engage with that kind of entertainment. It's a distraction, but it attracts a group of people that are not necessarily bothered by Flat Earth, but find it entertaining.
Yeah, and this is what, when drama kicked off, when I was doing Mechanics of the Fourth Wall, Nathan Oakley was loving it. And I said, what the hell? It's like, yeah, man, it's going to bring more people in. It's like, I started making YouTube videos and I'd explained this and I'd said this to him. I'd said it to him in the interview and I said it in Patricia's interview, okay? When I decided to make YouTube videos and actually make videos where I showed my face, because there were lots of people making videos and not showing their face, okay? I made a conscious decision to show my face in order for people to start getting used to totally ordinary people showing their face, because sometimes people are watching this on their living room wall, their big screen in their living room, exactly the same place that they watch Kim Kardashian and Eminem and all the range. Okay, there are celebrities who are celebrated because they're great at what they do, and the majority of them are celebrated because there's a big lot of money gone in there by PR people to celebrate them. Let's remember this, people, for those who know about Kim Kardashian. Remember when she bleached her eyebrows bright blonde to start a trend and it failed? What is this bullshitty, crappy nonsense that it's been made? Okay, I wrote a couple of things yesterday. I was on a masterpiece with Brother Sanchez, and I made a couple of notes to explain, because this piggybacks on what Lindsay was just saying. Okay, our perception of life was molded. Everyone's perception of life has been molded by their experiences, and lots of those experiences come as a result of interacting with other human beings and what they see, how they have had their life molded to them. Okay, so this celebrity worshipping gibberish is part of that mold. It's not natural. It's not. You're supposed to celebrate greatness. If you celebrate everyone across the board, where's the greatness gone? Now there's no greatness. Now when somebody brings something absolutely profound, how do you discern? How do you find it? It's scattered amongst all kinds of different layers and levels and types of entertainment. Okay, so our perception of life,
of fame that was being claimed that our society was developing into, where everybody would get their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, that's so, which gives Andy Warhol a little bit of kudos for having said that. Okay, and let's face it, what he was doing was he was just completely exposing the gibberish world that was going on in art back then, because it was oh man. Anyway, he was doing the equivalent to what Duchamp did. But anyway, if you're interested in that, look into it. So here's the thing: our perception of life has been molded by people whose perception of life was also molded by a spell. Okay, and that perception of life, what's been basically done, the perception of life is one where the fundamental truths have been removed or painted over. They've been hidden. The fundamental truths. For instance, what love is. If somebody sat there and said, would you write a paragraph on what love is? What should happen is we should all immediately go, yeah, sure, and just start writing it down. But that's not what would happen. We would sit and go, what is love? And we would engage in a philosophical adventure in our mind, trying to figure out what love is so we could write it down. We should know this. This is part of what, if somebody said to you, what's nourishment? You go, yeah, I know that. Okay. If somebody said to you, what's cold? What's love? How is it that it's not an immediate thing? It's because the fundamentals of life, which is the fundamentals of truth, have been painted over, have been disguised, have been lied about. The fundamentals of truth have been lied about. We now have this. They've tried for a while to kill the meaning of the word truth. Not true, truth. There are two types of what can be true, not two types of truth. Okay, two types. And you can then morph it over into, this is subjective truth. No. Truth is truth, and there are two types, subjective and objective, okay? But those two types are part of truth. Truth is like a pyramid, if you want to see it that way. It's not a very big pyramid, okay? You have facts that have to be true in order to be fact, and you have universals, like that all triangles have 3 points and 3 straight sides, okay? That is not a fact. That's a truth. A fact is that this is a pen. It's a concrete thing. Facts are concrete. And we've had this Darwinian shifting of language. So people use the word fact willy-nilly and true and not true willy-nilly. So we've had a distortion. There's been a concerted effort to dumb humanity down so that it can't operate at its fullest. Okay?
And change the meaning of words.
Absolutely. So what happens is we grow up under a spell. We break that spell. We realize what the spell is, how it was woven. We look into it and we realize who was weaving it, why they were weaving it, and how it was being woven. Okay? And figuring this out, is the equivalent to escaping. That is what it is. You are escaping. You're gonna die anyway, but you're not gonna die under a spell that might have you looking into the light and coming straight back to this place, because you're gonna say, hold on, I remember somebody saying maybe don't look into the light. Maybe. When you die and you see the light at the end of the tunnel or at the top of the well or wherever, and you're drawn to it, maybe it's like you're dead. You're not going to get killed. So maybe go, I'm going to see what's over there. And you might notice that that's where you're supposed to be. That light is the avenue straight back here. Okay? That's what that light is. Why do you think it's the light at the end of the tunnel? And I saw a light. And I went to that light. And through that light, there was heaven. Like, of course, you're not going to say I saw that light and I went to that light and I came back to earth, because people would then avoid it. So that's what happens. Okay? So our perception of life has been molded, including thinking that celebrity is great and that anybody that you're looking at on the screen is great. No, some people are great, some people are not. Some people are lovely, some people are horrible, and some people are just trying to do the best they can in a world that they think, I don't know how else to help and I'm going to do this. Okay? And that's what happens. Lots of YouTubers do this. Some do games and stuff, but they're trying to do something. They're not trying to become famous and they're not trying to become rich, but some of them, that's exactly what they're doing. They can't make it on. They would love to make it on proper television, on mass media. They would love to be on the news. They would love to be in documentaries. They would love to be in huge things. Those people are not here to help out. Those people are here to become celebrities. That's why they're here. They want to become Does Nathan Oakley want to become a celebrity? Somebody who studied drama, who works for the BBC. One of the TV stations in the UK. Channel 4, Channel 5, whomever, a small thing. Does that person want to be famous? Yes, too freaking right. That's all the reason he's here. He's certainly not a flat earther telling people about their teenage daughters and teenage boys thing, okay? Now, I'm going to go through this. The fundamentals of truth have been distorted through distorting our perception of life, distorting our perception of, is that person trustworthy or not trustworthy? Don't sit there and just make an arbitrary choice. Watch what they do. See whether they're trustworthy or not trustworthy. See whether there's any value whatsoever looking at them. You might want to look at them as in the freak show style. You know, let's see if you're that kind of person. You know, people used to go to freak shows. I've never understood that. Why would somebody want to go to a freak show anyway? So that's perception of life. If you want to start changing your perception of life to see more clearly, give thanks every day. It's really simple. You don't have to say thanks and you don't have to think thanks. Okay, this is thanks, thanking someone. The word thanks is just a sound. It's the intention behind it. Okay, somebody can say thanks. They said thanks, but they didn't mean it. Okay, so it's not the word, it's the intention. This is the intention. This is what you're doing. I said this with Brother Sanchez. A friend comes to see you, okay, and they haven't eaten. It just happens that they haven't eaten for whatever reason, and you learn this, you realize this, okay, and you say, hey, I'm going to make something to eat. So you're hungry, and they're, oh yeah, man, I skipped lunch. Hey, brilliant. I'm going to make myself I'm going to make sandwiches. You make sandwiches, delicious sandwich, okay, and you give them the sandwich, and they're hungry, okay, and you're great at making sandwiches, like me, because I'm shit hot at making sandwiches. I really am. Anyway, I love it. I really do. I really like making. Anyway, even though I'm now cutting out carbs, but that's a different thing. So you make a delicious looking sandwich, okay? A delicious sandwich. It happens to look gorgeous, but it's delicious. And you give this to your hungry friend, and your hungry friend says, yeah, that's the thank. They might then say, thanks, man, but the yeah is the thank. The other is just a social convention, exactly. Okay? The gratitude they're feeling when they receive, that's the thanks. So you don't have to wake up every morning and go through a kind of affirmative, oh, I give thanks to the universe, whatever. You don't have to do that. You can simply go, yeah, I'm awake. I can get on with things. That, yeah, is the thank. That's it. Once you start doing that, you've broken the pattern of neural pathways that had you listening to morons and not knowing what was true, not knowing who, or this pattern that you've been in of, oh, but I'm hearing this, but I'm feeling that. This confusion, you start breaking it because you've broken that mold. You haven't woken up and gone, yeah, it's a thing. It's just a thing.
One of the hardest things is the cycle that your behavior is subliminally reacting to situations. So you may hear about a behavior that's a reflection on you, and you realize that that's something that you've done in the past that has not come out well, caused pain or something like that. So you want to modify your behavior, but a similar circumstance comes along, and because you've not actually done any real changing, but things haven't interacted for you to behave in that way again, but it's, maybe even a year later, that same circumstance happens, but in a different situation, and you automatically trigger that same response, even though you know that that's not the response you want to behave like. But because you haven't learned to adapt new ways of reacting to that situation, when that situation arises again, you bring that habit back with you because that's the only one you know. And so this is the trap, the cycle cycle that people find themselves in, looking for the right way to learn new behavior and then train yourself in one way or another. Do some sort of, however you do that, however that is, you're trying to actually put into your existence a new method of behaving when this behavior comes around. And you're only doing that because the behavior that you currently have doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't benefit the people that you're interacting with. And you know that. Once you understand that, the next lesson or the next task or the biggest challenge really is to introduce new behaviors that mean the old behavior is no longer there.
It's breaking the cycle.
Breaking the cycle.
Simply breaking the cycle means implementing a new behavior. You don't have to sit and rack your brains on how, just break the cycle. Bodybuilders do this when they're bodybuilding, okay? Schwarzenegger explains this. You have a cycle, okay? You have a routine. You build your muscles, but they're only going to get to there's a maximum at which your muscles will reach, okay? And they will stop growing. So the only way to do that extra expansion is to break that behavior. So instead of, you're lifting very heavy weights and they're growing and growing and growing, and it gets to the point that they don't grow anymore. No matter how much more you increase the weights, they're just not growing anymore. So what you do is you shock them, you break that behavior, you lift light weights instead, and your muscles going, what the hell do I do here? I have to adapt. The only way they can do this is by changing. Now you shift to heavy and you break the patterns. So this is why I say just saying thanks. In fact, just being happy, just being grateful, okay? Yeah, when somebody offers you something, go, yeah, that's what it is. So when you wake up in the morning, if you wake up in the morning and you've got a horrible alarm, because you can choose a better alarm, everybody can change whatever alarm they have. If they wake up to something that just bugs them, okay, you don't have to. You can change it. In fact, you can continuously change it. So you never get to the point where you might have a really lovely melody that wakes you up. But after a certain period, that melody is going to mean you're getting woken up and you're going to start resenting it, okay? So change it so that never happens, okay? So you just hear a melody that, if you want melody, that wakes you up, okay? Without that resentment. And then you wake up and get on with your day. Whatever you do, whatever your job, whatever your entertainment, your hobby, your adventure, whatever it is, wake up that way, okay? And then when you get people assaulting you, calling you a rapist and all kinds of shit, it's just like, right, how am I going to deal with this? But it's not going to affect you how it was intended, which was to deflate you, to make you withdraw, to shame you, all of that bullshit. It's not going to, it doesn't affect you like that. So you have the balls to come on, knowing that so many people really like Patricia, and call her a man and explain that her hips are not the hips of a woman. You have the balls to do that, because it doesn't matter. If you have to be honest with yourself, because the only way that you can relate to the world is by interacting with it, okay? Now, right now it's YouTube, but you have to be honest with yourself in lots of different ways. If you're not in the shape you'd like to be honest with yourself and say, I'd like to be in this other shape, and go and do that. Become that other shape.
This is where, okay, so you get into a behavior, a subconscious natural behavior or reaction to a circumstance or a situation, and this becomes repetitive or habitual, if you like. You recognize it for what it is. One of the things that's going to really help you acknowledge to bring into new behaviors is understanding truth, meaning that if you're genuinely wanting to make change in some of the way in which you interact with the world, and you want to do it for integrity, for reality, for truth, then understanding and what truth is helps you find the right things that are going to help you change the behavior. Because once you start focusing on other aspects of truth, reality, you become more your growth. It seems to naturally grow.
It's like it's almost as if truth is a conscious thing and light's being interacted with. So yes. when the only way to really interact with truth is to be truthful. Please watch Jordan Peterson. I've said this before, and hear him explaining about truthfulness and honesty and speaking the truth and being sincere. Yes. Because listen to him, he can put it so much better. But it's almost as if playing with the truth is what the truth likes. Engaging with the truth. I say playing. that might be distorted. People might misconstrue. If you're interested in truth, then be truthful, okay? And you will see, in the same way that if you want to be rich, then engage with lots of money things. Then you're going to be rich. You know, just whatever your avenue. So if you want to learn more truth, if you want to learn and know, you can only know through access to truth. And that can be truth about something that's false, okay? So I think there's tea in my cup, okay? Look, turns out the truth is that was false. My impression, my idea that there was tea was not true. But now I know. Okay, that's how it works. Sorry, guys, I've got a sparkle somewhere, and I really hate sparkles. It's distracting the hell out of me. I have a phobia. It's a completely irrational response to glitter. I don't know how it's made. I think it was made and designed by the devil. I swear to God. So anyway, so truth, engage with truth. Okay, look for truth. Be honest. Be trustful, trustworthy. Be truthful with the world. Be truthful, even if you think it's going to hurt people. If you don't be truthful to avoid other people's possible suffering, first, that might not be the case. They might not suffer, and you've been dishonest for no good reason. But the good reason is not there. Hiding other people's feelings by not being truthful. The white lie. We have this thing, a little white lie, as if that's okay. It's not okay. In fact, there's always ways. If you're intelligent, if you're not being completely dumbed down and had your vocabulary completely cropped, there are always ways of being truthful that means not being tactless. So usually when they say a little white lie, yeah, somebody says, I think I've put weight on. Are these jeans a bit tight? Okay. You can answer truthfully. They have put some weight on. They are a bit tight. They happen to look great, and it's going to be great working out, you know, to get back into that shape if they want. And you haven't hurt their feelings, okay? But saying, no, they look exactly the same as before. To avoid that person's feelings, you've betrayed them. That's not true, okay? You're supposed to be true with your partner, honest. So let me change my tone. Just be truthful with the world. Be honest with the world. When something hurts, acknowledge that it hurts. When something doesn't hurt, don't pretend it did. You know, just be sincere and honest with the world. And then ideas will come to you that are simple to understand. You can then test those ideas. You test them like the simple diagram. That diagram works. It's really simple. Now you can explain it to someone. Now you can spin a gyroscope and wait 4 hours and watch whether or not it's changed angles from this to this. Simple things, okay? Because you're engaging with the world honestly, and this place really is conscious. It's really strange because it looks like within that consciousness there's like it's not all hunky-dory rainbows and flowers. It looks like within that consciousness there's the black and the white of the yin-yang, and forget the colors, black and white, the temperatures. If you like cold, then there's also heat. If you like heat, there's also cold in this world. It seems like there's also a malevolent consciousness. Now, whether that's just another side of the same consciousness that needs to be exercised for the goodness, all of that duality or all of that existential, all of those questions, don't know. But it seems like there's evil in the world. And I'm not a religious person, but it seems like there is, call it archons, call it a necessary energy of the universe or of life, whatever you want to call it. It seems like if you pay attention to something pretty dark, life becomes pretty dark. If you pay attention to things that are pretty light, life becomes pretty light. And it's up to you what you do, what you want to pay attention to. I don't want to pay attention to people calling me a rapist, but if it happens and it's like, brilliant, I can show this, I can bring light to this, and by bringing light to it, the number of people that came to me and said, dude, I freaking knew it, and some of them said, dude, I tried to warn you. So whatever comes to you, you can say, right, this is going to help me, illustrate to people something elemental about this person or about this situation. That's what I'm doing right now. And Lindsay is brilliant. Hey, Lindsay, sorry, you told me that you had something you wanted to show, and Vincent's here.
Yeah, I'd love to, but yeah, I'd be happy to. it's a work in progress.
Okay.
It actually aligns exactly what you were just saying.
Well, Vincent, I'm presenting myself. If you want to queue it up or whatever, you're free to queue it.
Okay, so if you can see my screen now.
No, I can't. You have to share your screen.
I have to share it?
Yeah, so you have to...
One moment, yes. It's okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Thanks, Vincent. You have to hit the white arrow in the green box on the edge of the Google Hangout above the wrench and the camera.
Not in my photo, not in my image, but up to top. No, wait on. Where am I?
You know the Google Hangout itself.
For him, it's different. He's not a moderator, so he's not a channel owner. So for him, it's different.
Oh, right. Okay.
You got chat, and then you got a green screen. It says screen share.
Yes, it does.
Okay, click on that one.
Share now. Yep.
And then you can screen share.
If I say share now, will that? I'm not presenting at the moment, though, am I?
No, you're not presented. So it doesn't matter if you screen share the link or anything. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to go share now, and then I'm going to go to my image.
Okay,
So
if you're done with it, yes, there you go. So before you go back and stop screen sharing, just let us know, because if you do, okay.
Yeah, okay. And I just want to let you know that I was hoping that this could be expanded upon if it was, if we wanted to. What I want to describe here is an overlay and then a little bit more into it. The concept I'm trying to put here is twofold. One is a concept of ascension, and also a three-dimensional form showing that in reality, this could, in theory, be how conscious energy moves, if you like, through energy lines in platonic shapes. So what I want to do here is show you, for a start, if you can see the screen.
Yes.
I'm gonna look inside here at the moment. But what we're looking at here is a pyramid with 4 sides, and you've got this seam down the middle of a face. And the reason that's a seam down the middle is because the face of each face is not flat. It's indented slightly, as you can see. So in reality, there's 8 real planes or 8 faces to the pyramid. And if you look at the aerial view of the Great Pyramid, you can clearly see that the way in which they've been built, they're indented slightly on each face. So I just wanted you to be aware of what you're looking at here. What I'm trying to do is also put in models of ascension that are being used by, say, the Freemasons with the 33 steps or the 33 levels and so forth, but also on the right-hand side where you've got V standing for the veil, where I can't remember his name, the author that wrote Slavery and the 8 Veils. And if you understand the 8 Veils, there are penetration that one needs to pass, and they do this by gaining knowledge of reality, of our truth, of how reality actually works. And by bringing their consciousness aware of this knowledge, it expands that consciousness, and it allows that consciousness to travel or penetrate one of the levels or layers. In these veils, there are certain conditions of focus and awareness of individuals. So if you're at veil 1, you're really easily distracted in forms of entertainment. Money becomes a primary, for example. It becomes more important than other things, or gambling, or positive things even. So, sports, entertainment, these are distractions, but they're all at veil 1 level, if you like. While you're attracted to these and you invest a lot of energy and effort into these, it keeps you bound to those levels. And you're also not interested in the upper veils of what is there. You may even be aware of it. You may have heard about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're consciously seeking out that knowledge and becoming aware of it. So this is a journey of ascension of consciousness, if you like, of how your consciousness expands and then travels. So what you've got down here, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it, is, and I'm going to now turn the pyramid slightly on its head so you can see what I've got. So you can see here it's slightly indented each side. Now the point I'm doing this is to show you that at the top you've got the capstone, and you've got your 33 levels. There's a gap, which is your 34th level really, and then you've got the gold capstone. So what's going on with consciousness or energy as it flows is, as the capstone energy is flowing up through these faces, and that's where the indentation is. That's where the strength of the energy is flowing up, and it's reaching in here and it's imploding. So energy is going in greater area here, but then it's concentrating smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's a greater amount of energy coming up into here of consciousness energy, if you like. This gets to a point, a singularity point, and I want you to imagine, because I haven't created it, if you had 6 of these pyramids and you put one pyramid on top of this pyramid, you would have one on top equal. So you'd sort of have a figure 8, if you could imagine. But the points of the pyramid would touch in each other. Then you would have one on the left and one on the left and one on the right, and they would come in and meet each other. Now you've got 4 pyramids. And now if you have one behind and one in front, now you've got a cube. And so what I'm trying to describe here is that with a cube, if there's an action in here, that doesn't matter which direction, but if there's an action in here, there's a mirror action occurring up here. In essence, that what we understand in motion, any force or motion, form, whatever, understanding that there's an opposite motion that is not necessarily felt or seen, but that's what's happening. So energy at this point spreads and it travels back down along the outer edges of like a vein. And as you can see here, this is the gold ether. As I describe it, it's traveling down the vein of the pyramid. As it gets further down here, as the energy is getting denser and denser, because it's meeting this corner, and it does travel around the corner. And if we look underneath the pyramid, we can see that it's got the lines traveling down on the bottom as well, at the base of the pyramid. So what's happening is that you get an accumulated energy of ether down here. So this is very highly active. There's a lot of distraction going on down here, easily to be distracted. Now, what these bandwidths are showing here is what I describe to be the high level of creative action that one person can do. And what I'm trying to get at here is that if you have a thought and that thought then turns into action, you turn that thought into making something, or you're going to do something. So you think about what you're going to do today. That means you're going to get out of bed. That's an action. You might do something that's repetitive, but you also might do something that's unique. These things are action orientated. They're actually action. So they're creative. So what I'm getting at here is that this is the spectrum of the energy coming down. It is white. It is the white energy that has the prism of all colors. And as such, you can imagine or visualize that green is the higher spectrum of where your energy is maximizing the amount of action that you can do, creative action. Outside of that spectrum, you get the different ranges of your colors. And if we look at these, what I'm trying to do here is use simple words, but let's say we're heading towards the redshift of our action energy. So these pathways down here are least action. So it's just a reduction of the amount of actual creative action you're imparting. It's not an emotional description in that sense. So external ideas are stimuli to then convert it into a creative action. This external can come from, as Antinio was talking about, indoctrinations from a teacher or somebody else, a parent, or this is an external, and you get these ideas and thoughts and you convert them into creative action. And this can be positive or negative creative action. What can happen after you do the action, quite often you can reflect on that action. This can create a sense of peace. When you're in this mode, you're focusing on a previous action, meaning that you're performing least action. You're doing less action. Sometimes this peace can turn into a sense of tranquilness. You might build a house and you feel really good about it. You get a sense of peace and you live in it for 10 years. You're feeling very tranquil about that. You're not worried about the house. You're not focused on upkeeping it or anything. You're in that mode of not doing anything to it. There's no creative action. You're living in that success or that mode. So you're in tranquil mode. This possibly no longer fits that tranquilness. Something is unbalanced. The house burns down, for example. This can revert you to a sense of anger because you've got to change the state of emotion that you're in, and you're not in a creative mode. So you can feel a sense of anger as a result. This can lead you to feeling even less action. You can be self-defeating. You can actually feel defeated as a result. The lines that I'm pointing pointing up here, and the reason I'm pointing these up here, these lines down here represent what I conceive or conceptualize as the event horizon. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But this is a line in which, or because energy is flowing down on the outer edges of the pyramid, this attracts a downward flow. So if your energy and least amount of action, if you're in this sense here, you're on the borderline of falling into a sense of what can be considered rage, if you like. If it's in this red, if you're in that sense of rage, you then might do something erratic, or you might do something, to defeat yourself, to hurt yourself. This is a point in which you can very quickly become chaotic. In other words, the outcome of your behavior, even though it may be active in action mode, the outcome is completely chaotic. If you're leading yourself up ascension and you find yourself at peace and you're producing a lot of energy and you're at sort of this level, and something happens and it leads you down this path as a reaction, and you slip into this mode, you can fall down these levels and find yourself back down here where everybody else is talking in a completely different language, but you can now sense that you're no longer here, and you got to sort of fight your way back up again. And this is what happens or can happen on the other side. So on the other side, where you might have an internal idea, meaning that you're not influenced by an external thought. It may have come from a dream, or it may have come from a form of meditation where you're trying to solve a problem or create something. It can lead you then into action, where you actually take that thought and turn it into action. So it's creative action, and this can lead you to positive growth. Now, if your action is not intent, if your intentions are not true, this can slow down your action. You can start slowing down what you're doing because you're not necessarily having the true intentions for doing it. You're sort of questioning, well, I came up with the idea, but I don't know why I'm actually doing this now. What's my intent? So you slow down, you reduce the action. This can lead you to then stifle your action to the point where you become doubtful and self-doubt. You start doubting yourself, so low self-esteem, lacking in confidence. This can lead to the blues. At this point, you're almost no action at all. And at this point, you're even thinking about letting go of everything, including your own life. So again, you could become on the event horizon where you slip into this full sense of loss. The loss is due to the fact that whatever you were implementing in action mode was stifled. You lost it. It's gone. You now are in a state of how to bring balance back to what you've lost. And if you keep going, it can lead to chaos. In other words, it is unpredictable what result this lesson or this activity has endured brings you to. So underneath this, and I'll look at the x-ray of it now if I zoom out and I go into x-ray mode, is to see on the inside what you're looking at are 24 energy lines. And these energy lines I've depicted here, made one of them thicker than the others. I haven't finished it and I'm trying to sort of work with it. But the idea is that at this dense low level here, you've got plenty of opportunity to grasp a particular energy line of activity that's going to lead to action. Once you start building this, it becomes thicker, it becomes more. And if your energy or the expending of clinging onto something like this and you're using it and it's working, and I say this just so that we understand it, whether it's a negative or positive, if it can grow. The point is it's creative action. Now, if you're aware of this and you keep hold of this and you use it and it allows you to grow, if you stay within these, within the pyramid, within the center, in the green, then the strength of this will just keep growing because you're creating always. If you go swing to the left and the right, and this can be due to outside influences. In other words, somebody else can trigger you to lead into this direction or this direction, and you lose the energy that you were grasping onto, whatever that was. It's slipping, and this is where you fall down a little bit, and you lose whatever you had, and you're trying to cling back to it. Sometimes these lines are naturally a lot more larger, if you like. So I'll give you an example. Building a relationship, having a family, for example. Now, not everybody has that opportunity, and those that do can suffer big loss through divorce or breakup, or all sorts of activities can happen. But because this is such a powerful energy, if you're expanding yourself and you're only in this lower veil 1, and this is your reality, this is your truth, and you're trying to find an answer answer why the pain is there. You can lead you down here, or you can lead you across here. You're focusing, or the whole activity is keeping you focused at this dense low level. And only conscious or penetrating new knowledge of truth can allow you to engage in different thinking patterns that might give you internal ideas, that allow you to grasp onto a different energy line that you can start taking creative action in, that may also allow you to penetrate one of those veils. And as you do so, that energy line becomes stronger, and it's less able for other people to displace it, especially if it's an energy line that you've created, and that your truth is connected and your intent is connected to it.
Can I jump in here a second?
Yeah, go for it, man.
And say it looks. Oh, echo. Let me turn my volume down. This looks to me like a good visual representation of how nothing is really lost. I'm interpreting this as nothing's lost. Even if you're just about to get to the very top of, let's call it, success, and you slip all the way back down to the bottom, you've created a new line, which is what it feels like to have had almost success, slip back to the bottom, and now you've got a new chord, and you can then weave another avenue up. Lindsay, listen, we've been joined by Barbie McGill. Wait a second. Okay. I'm going to present myself. You can come back to this afterwards. Just a second.
Should I unshare now, or?
Yes, I'm presenting myself now. But if you want to continue expressing this idea, which, like you mentioned to me before, this is a work in progress. And we can maybe work on developing an illustration or developing a
exactly. And drill into it, because each of those layers that I was showing you, the faces, I'm imagining that you could write script into each one of those, have it as a layer, hide it, and then flash it up, descript each. So as you got one model, because what I'm trying to fit is all sorts of nature fits into that model.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, well, we'll cover all kinds of things. It covers kind of everything. Listen, Lindsay, you go back to your normal screen in Hangouts. So stop presenting.
I'll stop presenting, yes. Got it.
Do you see? There you are. Okay, so now I can stop presenting myself, and I can welcome Barbie McGill. Barbie, you're muted, and you're not obliged to turn your camera on, but you'd be. It's just nicer for people to see. So do you want to unmute and say hello?
Hi.
Hello, Barbie McGill. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. So earlier, I don't know how much of this you've heard or watched, but earlier I explained your treatment by Patricia Steer in her Hangouts with Mark Sargent. I do have a video that I played a portion of it, but I keep dropping when I play the video. So what I'm going to do is, after this, I will upload the video, and people will have more. Well, we'll be able to watch, but we're going to go over it now. So would you like to explain to people what you explained to me, or would you like me to explain it, and if I say anything that's not quite right, you can make a correction to it? What would you rather do?
Well, I think I can explain, but I want to start by telling people that were sub to my channel that I'm really sorry. They deserve that. I haven't been able to do that. So yeah, I've just had some things going on in my life, and I kind of expressed that to some folks on Skype. Patricia was privy to that. Nathan was privy to it, although I didn't.
I have actually said some of the stuff that was going on in your life. I have already told people about the car.
Okay. Yeah, that too. And just health issues. And you were talking about honesty. I heard all that. So at the same time, I was like, if I was being honest, wondering, what am I telling subs? What am I telling people? Because I had some doubts, it's for sure. But anyway, I had some stuff happen to my car 2 weeks back. Overinflation of tires, issues with brake lines, which I can't relate to YouTube. I can't. But and then health issues. And so that, with just my little bit of question, I did a hangout. I said some crazy stuff. and now I'm getting pounded, which is okay if people want to pound me. But I think.
So what crazy stuff did you say in your hangout? And we're already aware that you're saying that it's not what you stand by. You just, this is the crazy stuff that you said. What was it? What was so bad?
I mean, I told people that I was concerned if I was being honest, that we might live on a sphere. Yeah, that's the truth. That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, that's not such a bad thing that we might be. Yeah, if that's what you think, then the honest thing to say is that, if that's what you think.
I mean, it was. I don't want to make excuses. But just like emotional garbage takes you to a place where you're just evaluating everything. And like you were saying earlier about honesty, and people that were sub to my channel, they deserve that from me, you know, and I was freaking stressed. So I was like ready to say anything just to get some peace. And that's not fair to anyone, but that is what it is.
Yeah, but wait a second. If you honestly thought that you don't know that maybe it's a ball and you said that, then that is being honest with people. So I don't see a big problem with that, but I will tell you this. I will give you this just to bring you a little peace of mind. Just give me 1 second. Where is it? I had it a second ago.
Hello, Bobby. How you doing?
Hey, it's Vincent.
Hey.
It's me.
Vincent. So
I was listening for 2 minutes. Yes. I give you a second. I was looking for your channel, Bobby.
But then, Patricia, here you are. Okay, I don't know if you saw this whilst you were outside watching the hangout. Did you see this really simple thing? Did you see this, Barbie? This is a gyroscope.
I'm not sure.
This is a gyroscope. Look, this is a gyroscope set at ground level. A gyroscope stay set in space. It doesn't matter where you are in space and what you're doing in space. As long as it's spinning at a rate that it's going to keep it level, it's going to stay level at this point. If you were on a globe, this is what would happen as you flew around. This would represent a, say, 3,000-mile flight, okay? So the on a flight, can you see the relationship between that and the ground? It's now level to the ground, but at this point, it's no longer level to the ground. And if this was a horizon, an artificial horizon in a plane, it would tell the plane to lift its nose up, and the plane would eventually crash because it wouldn't know what it was doing. Now, forget the plane. Let's say this is your table at the equator, and 3 hours later, this is your table at the equator. But look at the difference between how the gyroscope's going to be on your table here, and 3 hours later, your gyroscope should be like this, but on a globe, it would be like that, okay? In the real world, it will remain like this because we're not spinning and because it's not round. It's really simple, and you can demonstrate this with an actual gyroscope. You can get yourself a gyroscope. It doesn't have to be one of these high-tech ones that you speed up with an electric device, you know, so that it spins at like 3,000 or 18,000 revolutions per minute. It doesn't have to be one of those. It could be a toy one. It could be a crank-up one, okay? And then have a beach ball and say, look, you see this? Well, now as you move it around the beach ball, the relationship between it and the surface of the beach ball changes. We're not on a globe. It's easy. Now, Patricia Steer did a hangout about you. Tell people about you being
So, like, someone messaged me and said that I was being mentioned in chat on her hangout or whatever. And against my better judgment, I went and checked it out. And I think at 54 minutes or something, she mentioning about, the last hangout I'd done and maybe some of the things I'd said. However, she proceeded to tell people that I was extremely inebriated. I was not. Possibly I was, but not the way that they were saying. And she was in chat the entire time that this hangout was going on, saying she supported me, blah, 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 and then went on her hangout and basically, rather than message me on Skype, which she was capable of doing, she decided to mention me on her show, without people really understanding any of my situation. Not that people need to understand, but I think it's it's fair for people to understand.
So for instance, let's say you take a pill and that pill kicks in and you start slurring your words.
Yeah.
So tell
yeah.
people, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I mean, I had taken several breaks during that last hangout. I went into it on a mission. Again, I've had a little roller coaster ride, and I felt like I owed these subs, these people, something genuine, something true. And I was questioning, could it be a sphere? Is it flat? I don't know. I'm sitting here telling people it's flat. Anyway, I've had some health conditions. I don't want to really dive too deep into that, but on the last break I took some medication. I didn't estimate the time very well. So next thing I know, blam, I'm sitting there and I'm like, now being fair, I have been on a hangout, maybe two, of Jeff Stewart's, where I was freaking drunk. But damn it, I told people. I said, man, I'm hammered, I mean, I don't know if there's a difference, but what I know...
Well, the difference is, one is you've been drinking alcohol, and the other is you've taken a pill that has that effect.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt, I'm sorry, but I just want to say that things that happen, they're not the same. And what happened if you were drinking and you were drunk and you said so, that has no relevance to this one.
Yeah, you can be drunk one day and do one thing and then be not drunk another day.
Not relevant.
And, so it really is nothing. It's like Patricia Stay, after having had surgery, slurring her words and not being able to really open her eyes properly at one point. If people said that she was drunk, well, she wasn't drunk. She doesn't drink. She was on painkillers for the surgery. So, but the point is, she knew that you were on medication, but she didn't say that. She said that you were drunk.
I had mentioned to her, about she knew about some past health issues, and then some more recent ones cropped up, and I had mentioned these to her. She knew that I was under doctor's care. I guess what disturbs me about the whole thing is that several people said things that were on my Skype that could have contacted me and said, holy shit, are you fucking hammered or what's going on with you? We're concerned about you, blah, 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 whatever. In fact, one of the hangouts that was done by someone else, he even mentioned that I had contacted him, which I had, and I'd confronted him and I'd said to him, I hear you have a problem with me. I'd like to clear it up now. And that was never mentioned. Oh, well, we think you have an addiction problem. We think you need help. We think you're brain damaged. We think you're going to die.
You see, this is the lack of honesty. You said that wasn't mentioned. So you see, so omitting that is not honest. It's editorializing, or it's actually editing. So where Patricia said that you said, and she says in her own words, okay, that the earth was round, that science was real and the earth was round. She didn't give any context. She didn't say anything other than that. And even if you said exactly that, this is an ancient discourse, flat or round. It's hundreds of years old. In fact, it's thousands of years old. The greatest minds, some of them, have not been able to figure out, even the ones that are convinced that it's round, whether we're going around the sun or everything is going around us. They can't figure it out. It's only the prevalent theory now is the heliocentric one, but it's totally indistinguishable from the geocentric, and all the computer programs that model the stars is geocentric. It's just easier to model that way. So the you question it. Is this supposed to be about truth, or is it supposed to be that you're paying lip service to an idea? It's supposed to be about truth, and if it's truth, then honesty goes with that. And if you're questioning something, that's honest. But being drunk, she saying that you were drunk, oh man.
I mean, fair enough. Let's just say for shite's sake, someone was drunk. What I said was still true. What I said in my hangout and what I've always said consistently since I started making these videos is that the truth is in science if you can read between the lines. And so, yes, that night in my last hangout, I said, science hasn't completely lied to you. I mean, I think people want to just go out there and preach this, oh, we're totally being lied to. Everything they say is a lie. No, that's not the case. The truth is in there. It's between the lines. I've always said that. I'm going to continue to say that because that is a fact. And I said, yes, we might live on a sphere. I think someone actually recorded some of that hangout.
Well, the idea that science tells us things whilst disguising other things, all they have to say is, in theory, such and such and such and such. And if, there you go. Now, if, then, it's like, okay, that's fine. You've qualified it. You said, the gravitational pull mass of the Earth is this. So, molten iron in the center. When they don't change and update and say, actually, we've realized molten iron is not magnetic. It can't be the source of the magnetism on the Earth. It gives us the version of the Coriolis effect and the northern lights and the southern lights and part of all these things. If that's not what they've done, then that's distortion. But sure, lots of things. And this is another thing. Science, it's like, hold on a second. Science is not theoretical physics. Science is the study of the world, the study of nature, the study of natural phenomena, and even unnatural phenomena if they're tweaked, So plasma balls, like Tesla coils, all those things are not actual natural phenomena. They are synthetic. They're synthesized. They don't happen in nature. You don't get a ball with a bulb around in nature that you can touch your finger to that makes an arc, So it's not theoretical physics. So now we have, apparently, theoretical physicists behaving as if the entirety of science falls under them. It's like, no, they are a minuscule part of physics, real physics, a small part, and a sub-part of that is mathematics. So that's how it goes. It doesn't go the other way around. You also have theory in biology. When they don't know, they have to develop a theory, that's all. But it doesn't mean that biology is theoretical physics, Same with chemistry. So this is the thing. This is where people say it's false. They should really categorize what they're saying. Theoretical physics being the head or the big science, that's false. That's not true. It's an underling of science. It's an underling of physics. So of course in this world we have things turned upside down, and the ones that have the most prestige are the theoretical physicists, not the practical physicists. There you go.
I think if I want to refer to my understanding of science, if you like, you get this certain people that practice science become authority figures, and those authority figures then protect the knowledge that their so-called theories are converting people to accept them because they fit a model, and this is based on the science that they're enforcing. Sometimes when you look at a problem, the science that they're displaying is really a good fit to describe that kind of puzzle. It looks good, it fits nicely, and so you accept it. To me, science can handle the truth, quite honestly, and there is a lot of truth, I agree, in science. I think anything that is capable of misdirecting a layer of truth and converting it into something else. So when you look at nature as it's behaving and you try and look at it in that form, and then you compare that to how science is masking it, converting it, because science doesn't include ether, for example, and yet it's fairly understandable that especially Nikola Tesla categorically showed that ether is an energy source that can be tapped into, and it's unlimited. By definition, he showed through science, through his technology and through his understanding of how nature works, it can be utilized. But this was science that couldn't form and be part of the authorized model because they had a different agenda. And part of that agenda is to keep people believing or seeing or or perceiving that we can be a spinning ball with other spinning balls around other spinning balls, all at different speeds, and in essence, not really showing any physicality to it. You're not feeling it. There's no sense that it's actually happening. So therefore, you would perceive 1,000-mile spin of a ball at, in the diameter of Earth. You're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. If you're at the equator, you should feel some centrifugal force wanting to push away. You should be lighter at the equator than you would be, say, at the North Pole. But this is not the case. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't really fit when you understand certain things about how nature works. But if you put nature away and you say, well, don't bother about looking into that, we've got science over here that can explain that and even go past that. So we can explain all of that other stuff. What they've done, if you like, is they've taken that and converted it into something that is less real. It may be real in terms of being able to produce something from it, like a computer or like, anything else, but it doesn't necessarily show you the nature of truth, how nature works, and then how they've taken it from that raw understanding of nature, converted it into science to be an authority. And people tend to accept that without understanding the underlying essence of where it came from, which is the truth of what nature really is. When you go down to that level and understand nature, there are things that just conflict with what the science is trying to tell you. And one example of that for me is understanding how nature works with water. Simply put, water cannot curve. It has no ability to curve because it rests flat. And when I mean by rest, I simply mean that it has no way of shaping itself. So it doesn't matter how small or large you put something in a container, that water will rest flat. Now, it might curve a little bit at the corners where it's connecting with the walls, but a container still rests flat. So if you have a bath, flat. If you have a swimming pool, flat. If you have a lake, flat. If you have an ocean, flat. It doesn't, at certain sizes, decide I'm starting to start curving now. So for me, I now understand nature is telling me that water cannot curve. I know that now, and I understand it for what it is. But that understanding now conflict with what I used to think water could curve around a spinning ball. They don't go together. So to me, one's true and the other one's kind of conflicted. It's explaining a spinning model by using gravity and other things, so it makes sense. It's believable. It's meant to be. It's got to be believable to convince people that it could happen. This is how it could be. But if you go back to what nature is basically saying, that water cannot curve, it's just impossible. It doesn't curve. So all of a sudden you're looking at an ocean that's hundreds of miles, thousands of miles wide, but it's in a container. It's still got walls of land surrounding it to keep it in control. That is flat. That whole ocean is flat. Therefore, it can't be a curving water like we see in photos where you see this sphere and there's blue surrounding it. That's not how water works in nature, but it can work in this global spinning ball model. So there is a belief that you can cling to because it does make sense if you're in that ball model and you believe in gravity and you believe in those other things, that water can curve then. But it doesn't fit when you talk to nature, and nature tells you it can't be curving. I don't curve. I'm water. I'm flat. I'm water, but all liquid, not just water. A bath of oil, bath of coconut oil, whatever fluid you want. Fluid doesn't curve. Doesn't know how. In nature, it doesn't do it. So those two are paradoxes. They don't fit. So I either have to allow myself to believe in the spinning globe and ignore nature's truth, or I have to say, I'm seeking truth, and truth tells me that nature comes first. And then you can apply that nature to a model. And the model of a spinning globe doesn't fit that nature. And so therefore, for me, an ocean, thousands of miles in diameter, is flat. And that means all our land is flat. And that means our entire plane of Earth is flat. It's just an extension on itself like that. That's just one example, by the way. But that's why I compare science and how nature seems to somehow take a back seat when these models get tried, because they all make sense. They all, it looks pretty, mathematically works out. I've done the calculation, but they're all theory, and they're theories that make sense. They have to. Anyway, that's my rant. Sorry.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I don't want to really like dive into that kind of stuff really deeply on someone else's channel. The point was that I was at this place where I was recognizing that when I started this journey, I probably didn't start it in an appropriate manner. And when I say that, I say that maybe I should have gone out and done all these experiments. And, I just went with my gut and with my senses. And what my senses experience, and of course natural science. I can't explain everything about science and physics. I don't know. What I do know is that the truth is in between the lies, and maybe it's not even lies. I'm not sure it's lies.
Let me jump in, Barbie. Okay, they don't know. They don't
exactly.
know.
I've said that. I've said it so many times. I'm not sure that it's a lie.
So there's a point at which, okay, the guys building the satellites, in that chain, if we think of the chain between the guys who order the satellites and the guys who launch them, which could be the same guys, okay, those guys know that either the satellite's going up on balloons or they're not going anywhere. Those guys know. The launch guys know that they're going out into space. That's not true. I mean, not only is it not true, but it's demonstrably not true. Triangulation, so GPS satellites are geostationary, okay? They rotate at the same rate as the Earth to be above the same point. These geostationary satellites, if they took a reading on your GPS at the edge of the Salar de Uyuni, the satellites triangulate your elevation. Once you move 50 miles up, there should be a corresponding change because the satellites are geostationary and they're not bothered. They're not concerned about whether on a flat surface or a curved surface. They can only measure the distance between the satellite and the thing. And there's a different distance if that's the shape versus if that's the shape. There's a different distance. So why are they not saying that when you've traveled to the center of the Salar de Uyuni, you're much higher if the Earth was curving than you were at the edge of the Salar de Uyuni? Because they don't say that you're much higher. They say you're at the same level all along. And remember, the satellites are in this shape in space, and there would be a difference. If the place was curved, there would be a difference. These two don't correlate. The triangulation is not the same between those two things. So it looks like if they were in space, that's what they're doing. And if they're not in space, then it's triangulation this way from points like this. That's it. I mean, some of the stuff that we look at in the world, we're given illusion. We know that we've been given illusions about various different things, okay? Now, you're not convinced that the Earth is flat. That's okay. People who look across vast distances and see something that should be well beyond the curvature, something that can't be lifted up by a superior mirage, okay? Something that is not inverted, it's not flipped upside down, it's not made away across half a mile of curvature to be presented to your line of sight or your camera. When you see this, either you have to think they really don't know what they're talking about because they can't explain this, they don't have an explanation for this, in fact they don't discuss it, or they really don't know what they're talking about because this is what the real world presents, and this is only possible on a flat plane, not a concave plane, which would yield a horizon which would sometimes be higher than eye level and sometimes lower. If we were on a concave plane, there would only be eye level and sometimes higher. Well, that's not what we get. We get eye level and sometimes lower when there's atmospheric conditions, but never eye level and sometimes higher than eye level. Horizon, not mirages, horizon, higher up. That doesn't happen, and that's necessary on the concave Earth. But they don't like to discuss that because theirs is based on theory and not on observation. The flat Earth is basically just a result of observation. And if you read in fact, wow, this is a killer for this is a real killer for the cell Earth gibberish. If you look at King's Dethroned and you look at that and you consider that the Earth could be hollow, like, the inside, it's like, look at King's Dethroned. Just read King's Dethroned. It's really simple. And Stephen Chess doesn't like this kind of discussion. You're doubting his whole, his divinity. So no, you're cursed. So you're going to burn in hell forever. unless you bow down to him. And I'm not joking, people. This is a guy who really genuinely thinks that he's the second coming of Christ. Anyway.
That was another thing about the Hangout. So like by the time I went to end it, I was like, and I was an emotional train wreck. And yeah, maybe I was being a bit of a drama queen. I don't know. That's what I'm told. But several people had asked to join the Hangout. Validation Boy was one of them. He came directly in there and blah, 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 and talking about Jed, and because he's got it hard on for this stuff going on with Jed. And that's another subject. But he came in. I booted him. Some guy named George, nice guy, came in talking about radio waves and the measurement, the theodolite. Is that pronouncing it correctly? Okay. And then Stephen Christopher ended up in chat, and I said something about, do you want to join, yada yada. Sent him an email. He joined. So by that time I was crying. He came in. I thought I'd ended the Hangout. I don't know what happened there, because I definitely remember, and I booted Validation Boy. Damn right. I pressed end to the Hangout. It didn't end. The guy George came back into the Hangout, and somehow he got ejected. Yet I did not go over his little picture or whatever and eject him.
So Validation Boy ejected him because he had the link, obviously.
I mean, I don't know. This is the thing. I don't know. Steven said he did not eject him. In fact, evidently he made a video saying that he thought I lied when I said I didn't eject this guy, George. But to be fair, I thought I ended the Hangout. I was a bit tipsy. Doesn't matter what, if it was alcohol or medicine.
No, it does matter.
But I'm not.
It does matter. You're not tipsy.
It was medication.
Yeah, you're not tipsy from medication. Wait. Tipsy comes from having had a tipple, which is a drink. That's the word tipsy. It's not from medication. Yeah. Medication, it does not make you tipsy. It makes you slur your words. It might make dopey.
I was probably slurring. I'm sure I was. In fact, like I said, the last break I took it, and I was like trying to estimate the time I had, and all of a sudden, bam! So I knew I was sitting there like exposed. And then of course I started crying. I was emotional, and that was coming from me being in this place of like, dude, I got 3,000 people that have subscribed to me, and I want to be honest with them. And if I can't be honest with myself, and so I had spoke to several people before I did the Hangout, and I said, if I don't do it now, I will never do it. And I couldn't continue like that. I just couldn't. But anyway, at the end of the Hangout, obviously things had kite. I was crying. People were seeing that. So I pressed to end the Hangout. Stephen Christopher had come into the Hangout, but did not end. And I distinctly remember, ending it.
There are glitches from time to time. Could be your mouse, could be, who knows?
I mean, I don't know for sure. But in the meantime, this guy, George, nice guy, came back into the Hangout. He had been in the Hangout before. He left of his own volition. He had returned to the Hangout. And I think him and Stephen kind of had bang heads about radio waves with hard surfaces, blah, blah, blah. And he got ejected from the Hangout. I didn't eject him. I mean, I'm not going to bet my life on it. But to be fair, I had just ejected VB 8 minutes before that. And I remember going over his thing, pressing the little arrow down and pressing eject. But this guy got ejected and no one knows how it happened.
So it could be, if you had shared something on the screen, maybe somebody just sniped you. But if it was a case that you had only shared links to people who jumped in, if that was the case, then it's one of the people you passed the link to. So either they themselves or they passed that link to somebody else.
I mean, it's possible because I just don't think I ejected this guy. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I bet my life on it, but I had no reason to do that. And so I guess Earth Discussions channel kind of thought, well, maybe Steven did it. Steven said he didn't do it. So yeah, that was sort of a mess. But I had no reason to eject the guy. Although he had left once and came back, I think he was just trying to, I don't know. I think he was trying to be helpful. I really, really do. I think he saw I was in this weird place, and he wanted to help. And also that IPS guy joined as well. So it wasn't like I wasn't allowing people to join. There were several people who asked to join, and I had difficulty getting the link to their emails or whatever. But
Barbie, sorry to interrupt you, but there are some people, if we are on this panel at this moment and I got somebody blocked, they are not allowed to come in the hangout because I have somebody blocked. So it could be possible if somebody tries to join, they cannot join. And if you pass the link to someone who doesn't like your channel or doesn't like what you're talking about, they just pretend to be nice and then they snipe it or they delete people. That's what happened. It's not about, you probably did nothing.
I can't, look, I'm not saying that's what happened. I had two hangouts before that. The second one before that got sniped. I think we kind of know what happened there. But then the one right previous to my very last got sniped as well. People were getting thrown out. I couldn't add people. I had no idea what was going on.
That's what I mean. If some people have the link and they just pretend to be nice to you, they still can do bad things on the background. Trust me, I've seen it all.
So
months.
They can do this. You pass the link to someone who you think is a good person, and they're not. They've just been winning you over so that you would pass them links. So you pass them a link, and they're like, got it. And then they pass it on to other people. They can pass it in lots of different ways. Pass the link that you pass them, the nice person, supposedly, and they pass it to others. So either Validation Boy or somebody else passed the link. That's it.
Well, I don't want to accuse anybody. I don't know what happened. What I do know, if I can speak freely about what Validation Boy did, is this little twat got on his channel on the 4th and rambled on about me having brain damage, about how he was concerned about me, about how Jed and Lori were devils on my shoulders, blah, 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 blah. He just went at it. And Patricia was in the last hangout, and she can verify everything I'm saying. Yet I had someone from Earth Discussions channel say that they were in the chat. They saw what Patricia was writing in the chat, and that was derogatory towards what she was saying in her hangout.
You mean it was contradictory?
Exactly. So this little knob makes this whole freaking hangout about how he's concerned about me. Okay, so let me bring this up. Maybe I shouldn't defend myself, but I'm going to.
Yes, do.
Okay. So this guy was wandering around other channels' chats, talking junk about me, and someone happened to see it. It wasn't me. It was someone else. Ooh, I think he actually deleted me. No, he didn't. Here we are. So he's in other people's chats talking shite about me. I'm in love with Jed, blah, blah, blah with Jed, on and on about Jed. Then he decides to relate the fact that I revealed to people that I have social anxiety, which I do, to me being an alcoholic. Even if that were true, so what? The point is that after I understood that he was doing that on I messaged him and on Skype, because this guy is on my Skype, Patricia is on my Skype. Any of these people are on my Skype, could have contacted me privately and said, what's going on? And I said, I actually told him I saw his comments rather than say someone else did. I said, I saw your comments. Lesson learned here. Wait, I think I've went past it. Hold on, I did. Because I said to him that I think him and I needed to have a talk. Something got deleted here. Actually, wait.
Let me ask you a question.
Something did.
Let me ask you a question. What the state that you're in, is cannabis legal there?
Cannabis? No.
Oh, okay.
It's not anywhere. I live in the South. Now, you can get liquid THC. That's been going on for quite some time.
Legally?
I don't. Yeah,
Oh.
for certain conditions, I think they give people liquid THC. It's like a clear liquid. I don't smoke weed, so yeah.
No, the
I
reason
don't think
I'm asking is that instead of taking medication, you could perhaps take THC, CBD, and have those treat you. Here we are. Lindsay is with me. Do you want to say hi, Lindsay?
Hello, everyone.
Okay. And we're not going to play the Trailer Park Boys music all the way through. In fact, it's going to stop right now because apparently it really rubs some people up the wrong way. I think it's people whose brains have been molded by techno. But anyway, I love it. I do. I genuinely do. It's so cheesy and gay and la-di-da and so nothing that, yeah, why not? Okay, we're going to cover some pretty serious things tonight. You've heard some of the stuff that's been going on this week. You've heard some of the stuff that I've said this week. Yes, Patricia is a man. Wait, to the degree that I can determine, okay? I've had a long conversation today with some global friends. How do you know for sure? How does anyone know for sure? You would have to take a blood sample and look for that Y chromosome. I didn't take a blood sample, and there are some women, I'm sure, that have that Y chromosome and all of that. I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to go into it further, okay? Let's suppose that Patricia used to be a man and is now a Patricia, okay? That's their choice. It has nothing to do with me and it has nothing to do with anybody else. The reason I pointed that out is that honesty is much better. And if you consider it being a protected class, transgender is a protected class. You would think a transgender person in the flat earth would have gone out of their way to point out that they were transgender, and by pointing this out, receive some type of security for it. Instead, it's deceit. If you don't point out qualities of yourself, it's deceit. So I will point out right now, I am an unemployed artist. Sorry, Nathan Oakley. You can work your 14 hours and receive your benefits under the title of Working Families Tax Credit if you like. I don't need that extra money. If I did, I would work some 14 hours somewhere. Now, Nathan Oakley is a despicable person. Patricia Steer is a despicable person, okay? These two people are despicable. Validation Boy is a despicable person. Yvette Zarate is a despicable person. These despicable people, not they might be doing it under different reasons or their reasons might be valid to them. The actions are what are despicable, okay? A despicable person is a person that engages with despicable actions. That's how language works. So let's imagine that Patricia Steer knew fully well that Barbie McGill had some personal... Let's pretend that this is real. And at the end of the story, I'm going to tell you that it is. That Patricia Steer knew fully well that Barbie McGill was having personal problems, had gone back onto medication that makes her slur her words, not alcohol, medication, was in a hangout, took some medication, the medication kicked in, she started slurring her words. Patricia Steer knew that she was on medication, and later Patricia Steer said that she was tipsy, okay? And said that she'd given her support. She was smearing her, saying that she was tipsy. She was not tipsy. She was on medication. Very much like Patricia Steer when she went on, what was it called? I forget, a Christian channel where shortly after having had surgery and she was on heavy painkillers and she was dopey and slurring her words, okay? That's elective surgery. That's not due to personal problems like somebody hyperinflating your tires to 100 pounds per inch. All four of them, and cutting your brake cable. Those are the kind of personal problems I'm talking about. This happened to Barbie McGill. Patricia Steer knew this. And Patricia Steer pointed out that Barbie McGill, who no longer has a channel, who can't speak for herself now, not much, because she doesn't have a channel, she just completely burned her for no good reason. Mark tried to engage with this and she completely blanked him. So I'm going to show this later on, okay? That this is what Patricia did. And Barbie McGill I'll ask her if she'll join us next week and confirm what I've just told you. This is Patricia Stay. This is the person who sat by while somebody went around calling me a rapist who violently raped her, and later claimed that what he meant was sex under false pretenses, like maybe pretending to be the opposite gender. So this is Patricia Stay. You all know, everybody knows that this guy has said that I raped her violently. I'm going to show it. I am actually going to show him saying this in chats, in private chats, and also in public in comments. Okay, he's done this. This is Stephen Chess, Patricia's pet. Okay, this guy is not well in the brain, but Patricia has just said, oh no, what Stephen Chess meant was this other thing. No, physical, absolutely physical are the words. Okay, not.
Can I say? Can I just add something to that? When this was happening, I wasn't focused on it, but I became aware of it. I think it was through David, and I read a couple of the comments, critically the ones where you were reporting what he had said and showed it. And I was looking at it, I was thinking, my God, this is all blown up. You know, at this stage, there was this level of optimism or gathering, this building and growing, this flat earth community kind of thing, you know, and all of a sudden this thing just blew up like an explosion within the whole thing. It just went boom, and people talking about, speculated about rape and all this sort of stuff. And then, you know, you saying that there's a lot of people, including myself, that just took one step back from the whole situation and said, whoa, what's going on here? Something's not right. Something that is definitely not right. And everybody that's getting themselves involved, there's a smell somewhere along the way. And I wanted to know where that smell was coming from, because there were people declaring one thing and there was people not really saying much else. They weren't sort of defending it or attacking it or whatever, but all of a sudden there was a noise coming out that was saying, this is what's really going on. And there wasn't any counter to that. And to me, that's where the smell was coming from.
The silence. It was the silence.
The silence.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know about it, but let's pretend like it didn't happen. Let's be globling and pretend like there's curvature. Let's follow that kind of installed mentality. Let's follow that. No, dude, everybody, if anyone gets accused of rape, that accusation doesn't go away. People will think along these lines, well, probably what happened is this, or maybe what happened was this. He violently raped her. She told Stephen Chess. Stephen Chess couldn't contain himself and blurted it out. And she didn't want it blurting out for whatever reason. So she tried to stem it and said, no, he meant this legal version, you know, sex under false pretenses. Okay, what false pretenses? I haven't lied or told her I'm anything different to what I am. She'd been here before coming to move. So what false pretense? Anyway, I suppose it means the marriage.
Can I ask you a question, Antonio? Sure. The question I ask you is, at what point in the relationship did you actually realize something wasn't physically right in terms of the anatomy? You know,
yes. Yeah. Okay.
When we were, go on.
So I've had this conversation today with my Globering friends, and same question. I can't say exactly when, okay? It was maybe a third. So she was here for about 10 weeks, maybe halfway through, or maybe a little bit early. I don't know, because it all got very blurred. Very long hangouts, lots of activity.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, and it's not because I want to align these two things together, but if we're talking about intimacy, then we're talking about trusting your partner to be open enough for you to engage in that intimacy, trusting the honesty that's being held within that individual.
Yes.
So if there's a piece of information that's not being openly discussed with you that involves the level of intimacy that may create whether it be a positive or a negative reaction when you discover something after an act has already been done, I'm going to tell you, to me, that's a form of rape in itself.
It is. That is false sex under false pretenses.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So what I'm saying is, it's the same thing as me having herpes, for example, and not telling my partner. that you may get infected if we have intercourse without protection, and that person, yeah.
And
anyway, sorry.
I notice, okay, anybody who's not heard this, I notice because of the shape of the hip to the femur, okay, there's a hollow between the hip and the femur, and later in hindsight, I noticed the strangeness of the walk. I did a short video some time ago. I posted a video at some point of the alien from the video Mars Attacks, from the film Mars Attack, okay? This alien dressed like a beautiful woman that glides and has this very peculiar, unnerving walk. So, but this is where I want to go, okay? What somebody does to the body and with themselves is their own business. They have to deal with it. But to hide it from other people or accuse other people of lying for discussing this, okay? That's not on. First, hiding it. And here in the UK, in May of 2001, the UK government made it legal to change the gender on birth certificates, okay?
Wow.
It's now legal for people who have a sex change to have their sex on their birth certificate changed to align with a new gender, okay? Which means there will be organizations out there that will embellish your background to match, okay? But anyway, put this to the side. That's just a thing. It's personal decision, personal choice, whatever, okay? But to not disclose it, okay, you might say that that's also a personal choice, and yes, it is. But in a truth movement or any truth scenario where you don't point out the truth, that's not on, okay? That's besmirching truth, okay? And when people say, look, I think she's a woman and I know that she's a woman, it's like, no, you don't. And if they say to me, do you know for sure that she used to be a man? I will say, no, I do not know for sure. I did not take a blood test, okay? It could be the case that the same as I think Patricia used to be a man with narrow hips like a man and had this cushioning put on. It could be the case that she was always a woman with narrow hips and had the padding put on for more curves. That could also be the case. But this is my point. If she had been a woman, then the woman's wrath would have brought hellfire down on me because I outed her, I exposed her as a psychopath. And a psychopath woman would have destroyed. She would have just poof, destroyed. And she didn't. Why? Because she's not a woman and she does not think like a woman. Women are different. Women and men are different. Okay, this idea that they're all the same, no, it's not true. And new studies have just come out confirming it. Anyway, women can think much faster than men in lots of different aspects, okay? And men can think far more focused in different aspects. There are differences, okay? There really are differences between a male brain and a female brain, okay? And neurologists know this and psychologists know this. So she does not have a female brain. If she had had a female brain, she would have completely destroyed me, and she didn't, okay? Not because she's good and somehow still loves me and what. No, I outed her as a psychopath. She's a psychopath. So think, would a psychopath sit back and go, oh, it's okay, I'll just let it slide? No. So it's not that she is not a psychopath and just thought, let it slide. I guarantee to you guys, she is a psychopath without any question. And only people who know her in the real world will know, okay? So ask the people who know her in the real world. Ask Omnieros. He didn't know her so well, but ask him, okay? Ask the people who have met her, who no longer associate with her. Ask them. Ask her Scottish ex-boyfriend. Ask her